Good evening and welcome to Poker Night Live, the show that brings you 4 hours of live internet poker. The name of the show is Poker Night Live, and it is a live show, which means we get to bring you everyone's play and their hole cards. We're going to be showing you lots of different games tonight, and the great thing about the show is the way you can actually contact the show. You can actually get in contact with myself, Mark Prince Charles Banin, or my co-presenter from Sweden is Johan Eld.
That's right.
Now, just to clarify a couple of things, Johan, you are the one exception to the Swedish rule. You're a tight Swedish player.
That's correct. I'd like to flatter myself with that anyways.
Okay, so I'm not too convinced on that, viewers, so we'll quiz him throughout the evening. Now, on top of that, we'd also like to clarify you're not Johan Haren, who's a regular player on the show, are you?
That's right.
Okay, cool. Right. There's lots of various ways you can contact the show, and we'd like you to contact if you have any questions for myself or Johan. There it is on your screen. 62211 is a text number. You can text any of your questions. Please leave your name on the first part of the text message so we know who you are. As well as that, you can email us at poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And the other thing to have a look at is our website, which is www.pokernightlive.co.uk. Now, lovely forum on there, so lots of useful information. Now, a lot of people have said they'd like to contact the show and leave messages for us and speak to us directly. Well, you can do now. It's 0906 200 70 80. 0906 200 70 80. Leave a question for myself or Johan, and it'll be played back live on air, as long as it's a good one. And no singing allowed, unlike Tragic Trev last week. Now, we've got, as I said, we've got a multitude of games for you to have a look at. And let's take a little look around the table, so perhaps you can do that for us, Johan.
Yes, and we'll start off with a $2 sit and go. And the blinds are at 20-40, so that would be the second level of it at the moment. And we'll come back to that later. Secondly, we've got a $10 sit and go, basically the same concept. Blinds are at 160 and 320 at the moment. Then we've also got a cash game, 25-50 cents, and we've got 8 players at the moment, so we'll be coming back and have a look at how they're doing later on tonight as well. And finally, we've got our multi-table tournament, which has only just begun, or I think they're at the third level now, which is 75-150. And sorry, do we know how many players are still here?
Yeah, well, they actually started off with 347 players, I believe, so it's a big prize pool. It's actually one of the biggest I've seen on here, $954 first prize, so
that's pretty nice.
That's pretty nice to aim for. Not bad for a $10 buy-in, is it?
Absolutely not, no.
Yeah. So some excellent stuff there. And don't forget, we are, as I said, we are a live show, so we'd like to hear from you. It's you that makes a show. If you have any questions, no matter how simple or how complicated ones go to him, and I deal with the nice, simple ones. So it's nice, it's about time now that we go to a multi-table tournament, and let's see how we're featured there. This is the one we were watching just a moment ago. Johan took us through, and there we are. This is the tournament that we mentioned a moment ago. This one's got 150 runners still left in, so we're about half the players have already gone, and lots of prizes here, Johan. There's goes all the way down to 30 prizes,
which is pretty good, I reckon. I mean, you want to have that's. Well, you, even if you get in on the 26th or 25th, you still get your money back and a little bit extra as well, making
absolutely.
your time worthwhile. You know.
And the good thing about it is that they're already down to 150. In other words, there's nearly 200 players gone out, and yet it's only 1 hour has gone.
Yeah, it's quite. It must be a pretty aggressive play. It's going to be very interesting to see what people are doing out here.
Yeah, so. We could see this is just one of the tables still remaining. Of course, with 150 players, there's still going to be in a region of about 18 tables or so, 20 tables, something in that area. So there's still a lot of way to go before we reach our final table, where we get 8 players battling it out for those top prizes.
Yeah, and I think on this table we've got Nuggets 1878, which is a familiar player to us. I think it was.
Was he on there last time? Was he?
I think so. Yeah.
Ah, you've got a good memory.
And if I remember correctly, he was playing pretty well as well.
Well, he seems to be playing pretty well now.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got up. He's got 11,000. No, 11,000.
11,500. Yeah.
Yeah, and the second player on the table is. Roughly at half that, at 5,400. So yeah,
Okay.
It's going to be interesting following him.
Yeah, it will be indeed. We're going to come back to that multi-table tournament shortly, Johan, because we're going to nip in and have a look at a little sit and go. This is a single table tournament, so let's have a look and see how these guys play it out. Now, the great thing about the show is that we have lots of new features on the show, Johan, and one of them is a Beat the Presenter. It's where one of the presenters, tonight it's going to be yours truly, who's going to be playing, and subsequently it'll be a chance for some of our regular viewers to challenge the presenter.
Yeah, I think that's great. As you know, I gave it a shot last week, and they really showed me where not to put my money where my mouth is. Okay. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how you're doing.
Yeah, well, we'll be indeed. We'll have a little go. It'll be my second go. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So this is going to be a similar sort of format. Now, this one is quite late on in the tournament. The blinds are 160, 320. Now, you might say it doesn't look like it's late on with all those players still remaining, but I can promise you one thing. It's there are not going to be this many remaining very shortly, because I would guess in the next 6 hands or so, we're going to see at least 2 or 3 players go out. Yeah, the blinds are so high now.
I think you're right. I think we even can see one going out now. We've got Queen King against pair nines. I'm going to see what he does. Yes, he's calling that. So
he's definitely going to call, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah, I would too. I mean,
yeah, well,
I know with a flop like that, he's going to be pretty confident. I think that he's going to take this. Oh,
well, too soon. Yeah. Commentator's curse.
Right, yeah.
Only a 9 on the end would have got him. Fortunately for Champers, it wasn't all his chips, so it means that he's still got some chips there. But and a good lucky thing for him as well is that he's now on the dealer button, which means he's the last person to act, which means that the blinds are going to have to go round a few players first before they get round to him.
Absolutely, yeah. So he's still got a chance to come back here, I think. It's got Ace-Jack by Gazaluz against Ace-King, which is going to be pretty interesting to see how would you play here with the... Oh, sorry, he's all in. So
yeah, he's all in. There's not much choice to do anything else, I don't think. So no Jack for Gazaluz, so he loses this one, and Balrog UK doubles up to 16-20. And blinds have just gone up, and well, we missed a couple of things there. We jumped over a few steps, yeah, don't know what happened there. We've gone straight to the final 3. That was very quick, wasn't it? 1 minute Balrog UK was doubled up, and next minute he's sort of a chip leader.
Yeah. Well, we'll try to find out what happened there.
Yeah, we'll try and find out, and perhaps we'll come back to that a bit later. Let's head straight over to the cash game in the meantime. Okay, so we have one of our regular players, Snap It, who's sitting down with just over $50.
Yeah. I think I'm a bit surprised. It seems like all players have quite a good stack in front of them at the moment for 25-50 cents. It's
yeah. Well, maximum buy-in for this is $50, and minimum buy-in is $5. So you can pick up anywhere in between, and that's worked out pretty well for Geordie. He's found the turn card that he wanted, and I think Snap It let him in a bit cheap there. He put $2 into a $7 pot, and that was really just inviting anyone with any kind of pair or any kind of draw just to come in and see what they can catch. And of course, Geordie did catch, and instead of snapping it up,
absolutely,
snapping up that pot on the flop, he actually let him in, and instead of being up to $56, although he's sort of down to 42. So I think that was a missed opportunity there for Snap It. I think he needed to show a bit more strength there.
It's a very common mistake. You get a little bit uncertain about your opponent's cards, and you make a weak bet, which is only going to encourage your opponent. And
yeah, they'll call you something inferior or a bad draw, perhaps, a gut shot, even, and then you wonder, why did he call me for a gut shot? Well, the answer is usually the fact that you let them in too cheap. And of course, he let him in there with a bottom pair, and his bottom pair made trips. So yeah, that was a little bit on the weak side there from Snap It. I think he had middle pair. He had one player already checked to him. So he's only worried about Geordie having the 10.
Yep.
So you can put out a fairly strong bet knowing that your 8 there's a good chance. There's a good chance that your opponents miss that 10.
So we've got 2 kings here on small blind. How do you play that usually?
Well, the guy's raised, isn't he, in early position, which usually signifies strength, and Snap It's raised and the guy's called. So it depends. It's very hard for me to judge because I don't know how the guy plays. It's helpful to have a little bit of information about how this guy plays.
Absolutely, yeah.
And he's calling with the a7. Maybe he thinks his a7 is good here. I don't know why, but it's not really a hand you want to call with. You know, you might want to raise with it, but you certainly wouldn't want to call with it in that spot. So Snap It gets some of his chips back out of him. So he played that pretty well, I thought. You know, he done the right thing. He raised. He got the guy to commit extra chips.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think when it depends, if they've got kings on the big blind like he was on, and the guy's made an early position raise, it usually signifies strength. So you can usually make a re-raise yourself, and knowing that the guy will probably call you because he's unlikely to call, you know, to have made the initial raise of rubbish.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, in this case, the guy did raise with rubbish. You know, he was raising with a7, which isn't a particularly good hand.
Yeah, but then again, he followed through anyway. So I mean, Snappy got his money out of it anyway. So.
Yeah. So he got a nice little increase in his stack there. Snap It. So well done to him.
Right, let's see, we've got King 10 against Ace 10.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of the 10s are out, aren't they? We can see 9, 10, Ace 10 and King 10. So 3 of the 10s have gone. Only one 10 left in the
pack. They
pack.
don't know that, you know. So.
They don't know.
So hopefully we can...
a cheeky little raise there from Snap It.
And he folded
yeah,
10,
got that,
Ace
Jeff.
10.
Folded, wow. Not sure I would have folded there from a button raiser.
That's a pretty good bet, I think, from Geordie. He assumes that Snap It
I'm
didn't have
likely
anything.
to re-raise there in that situation because Snap It had the lead in the betting. What's Geordie raising me with there? You know, he's likely, if I had a good hand, I'd wait for you to raise, wouldn't I?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think, but he could have done it with a low flop like that. Some players will bet out with a low flop like that, so to protect their hand, just in case Snap It doesn't raise. So there's a little bit of a chancy play sometimes. Yeah. You've got to know your players, really.
Absolutely.
Well, lost in with the pair of jacks, looking good.
Yeah, he's got $110 and definitely the leader of the table, and it helps. You can see he's also been quite tight in his manner. He hasn't played a lot of hands since we
No, not since we've seen him, no.
And I think that's something that you can afford in a cash game. When you've got a lot of money already, you can just sit back and play the hands you really want to play, really. Which is... I think the advantage of cash games, you know, you don't have to rush anything, and the blinds aren't coming and going up, so you don't face the possibility of sitting there with really high blinds all of a sudden. So you can just sit back and play the hands you want to play.
And grind it out, yeah.
And perhaps if you get the opportunity, lean a little bit on some of the weaker guys and get them to commit to the pots a little bit too much earlier on, and
Well, we can see here that Nick N1 is got the highest percentage of pre-flop folds, which suggests that he's the tightest. Snap It is, well, look at that. Snap It, I would never have believed it. Snap It, up a few months ago, was playing a much tighter game. Around 15% he would have been on,
really?
Around that sort of area, maybe even lower. And now he's coming to my territory, 28%. What's going on, Snap It? You've eluded Dr. Tom and you've come over to my way of thinking. Like to hear from you, Snap It. Tell us what your thoughts are. poker@pokerlightlive.co.uk, you know the email address. So, percentage of hands won, Snap It has won 44%, which is a particularly good number. Anything over the 40% mark is particularly good. So he's done it, as long as you haven't not playing 100% of hands, and 44% is generally pretty good.
But as you can see, he's got pretty tough competition with 4 guys with more than 44%. So
yeah, he's got Lost In, who's obviously a chip leader, has got 50%, and SG145, who's got 60%. So yeah, it's a lot of competition now, absolutely.
Should make for an interesting game to watch as well. That's a pretty bold bet, I reckon. With
Okay, right. I think we can now head over to that sit and go that we were watching a moment ago. So let's just get back there and resume where we left off, or pretty close to it anyway. Okay. So this will be the very next hand. See, blinds have just gone up to 326.40, and Hoofy's got the Queen Jack suited. He's thinking, well, do I want to push all in with the Queen Jack? I'm a bit far out here. Yeah, it's a difficult one, Hoofy, very difficult.
And we've got Scotty here. He's all in on big blinds. That's the reason why it's only 540 rather than 640.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
that's not a bad flop for your 6-4s. It's improved, although not good enough because Balrog's got the straight. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And not good for Scotty. Hit 2 pair, not good enough. He needed to hit a 6 or a 4 to make him his house on the end, and it didn't come. So we lose Scotty.
As well as Champion in the bottom, and he was all in as well. So.
Oh yeah, Champion was all in as well. So Balrog takes 2 of them down.
Yeah. And I think this is a moment where a lot of people start to get stressed because the blinds are really high now compared to a lot of the stacks on the table. And we're going to see a quite quick game, I think, here. Gazalis is all in already here, and he lost, so he's gone as well.
Yeah, well, it's like I said, isn't it? With the blinds that high, you're going to see a lot of all-ins.
Mm. Expect we're going to see Buffy be good and going on in here as well. Yeah. Ooh, that's a terrible hand for Buffy be good. Nash Anubis got his queen already, and yeah, it didn't help. And that's it. We're down to the last 3 players.
Down to the last 3, so all in the money here.
Yeah.
So 50% goes to first place, 30% goes to second, and 20% goes to third.
So how do you play in a situation like this, usually?
I'm sorry?
How do you play this, usually?
What, 7, 8?
No, in general. Like, you've got 3 players only left. And,
here I'm fairly aggressive in this situation. So, yeah, because, you can't afford to lose a blind here, really.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, as long as I've got any kind of... It depends on the timing. If I've got 8-2 and I feel I can just about afford to lose a blind, then I won't play 8-2. If I feel I can't afford to lose it, because it's the next blind was just going to cripple me, then I'll probably have to just push all in and hope not to get called.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, timing's more important than the cards here.
Absolutely.
In this situation.
Yeah. Okay.
If the blinds are a bit less, then that's not so important to do that. Timing doesn't become that, it becomes important, but not drastically important as it is now. Ooh. And Hoofy's done nothing wrong. He's pushed in with Queen 10. He needs a Queen or a 10 on the river. Is it going to come?
Be difficult.
Oh,
yes,
he does it.
He did.
Well, runner. Gosh, Nash and Lubis thought it was all over there. They thought, this is mine, baby. And Hoofy's come out of nowhere to steal it with 2 running. Well, look, he's picked up the same hand again. Ace-Jack. Are we going to see the 2 go at it again? And Nash is thinking, this time it's my turn. And, it was his turn until that little 3rd 9 appeared. God.
Yeah, it just hasn't got the luck on his side today.
No, look at that. Gosh, he's been beaten twice with that Ace-Jack. And Nash and Nubis is not a happy camper, that's for sure. Well, Hoofy wins a 60-40 and a 50-50. And that's a bit of luck that you need to win these when the blinds are this high. And look at that, just to finish it all off, he finishes up with kings.
Yeah, unless we've got a 7 here on the river.
Yeah, it has to be a 7. No. So, well done to Hoofy.
Yeah,
he was almost out there, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. But he got some incredible cards last time.
Yeah, especially on that river.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I think we can safely say that congratulations to Hoofy. And,
well done, Hoofy. So we've got another sit and go lined up for you. That one was a bit quick. So let's head over to this one that's just started up. However, before we do that, we've got a What's in the Hole competition where it's your turn as a viewer to guess what cards are hidden behind the question marks. So let's have a look and see what they are. So it's the What's in the Hole competition, and we can see LL Coolio there with the mystery cards.
And what's happening here is that he raised.
He's raised it, he's made it 150, and it's been called by the Ace-King, and he's bet out again, and it's been called again. He's bet out again, and it's been called again. So, what did he have?
Absolutely.
What was in the hole? So, he was up against Ace-King.
Yeah.
He looked fairly confident there, didn't he? But who knows what's in the hole? If you know the answer, text the word hole and your answer to 62211, and don't forget to add in your name as well. your name, the word hole, and 62211, but not in that order. Hole and your name. Okay, great. We're going to go to a $20 sit and go. This is one that I believe has just started, so let's head over there. And lo and behold, there it is, just started. In fact, I think this is the first hand, so we can see this for its entirety.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to follow. Let's see if we have any. Do you recognize any of the players here?
Cat Attack, I think I recognise. Poker Malk, I've seen, I believe, and Golden Jaguar.
Right. Good to see some familiar faces here.
Yeah. And look, that Ace Jack again.
It's difficult. I think he's going to take this one home, though.
Yeah.
But,
Slow Steve needs a 5 or a 9, or a king for Gazmondo. So it'd be interesting if Ace Jack got sucked out again. That would be unusual.
And obviously, Cat Attack was hoping here that Gazmondo or Slow Steve would bet.
I think maybe he's just a little bit unsure where he is. I mean, he's hoping that the guy doesn't have a 4. You see, this is now a 4 would make it straight for someone.
Absolutely, yeah. But on the flop, he was playing it cool as well and only calling it. Whereas I think, see, now he's probably scared, but no, he did.
Yeah, he just called there,
anyways,
didn't he?
Yeah.
He thought, so a good little bit of play there by Cat Attack. He increases his stack nicely. Slow playing the Ace Jack. He was probably a little bit worried, thinking Ace Jack's not a big hand. It's only one pair at the end of the day. And that's the thing you've got to remember. Whilst you do hit top pair with top kicker in a lot of these situations, it is only at the end of the day the first run of the ladder. It is only one pair. You know, it's not a huge hand. So, oh look, we could see trouble here. We've got Ace King against Aces against Ace Queen.
It's going to be very.
So there's not going to be any aces to hit the flop. That's for sure. So this is going to be very interesting indeed, because the Ace King is going to be acting last in the first round of betting. There's 80.
It's probably a good bet, 4 times.
140. You see, I would have just called here with the Ace Queen.
Yeah, probably as well.
I would never, not in the early stage of the tournament, I wouldn't raise with it.
But on the other hand, if he gets a re-raise again, he really knows that he's probably going to lose.
He could get out of it, yeah. I don't think Cat Attack will. He didn't re-raise with the Ace Jack, did he? He played it fairly softly, so I think we might see him just flat call this, or even fold. I don't think he's going to call. He's going to raise. Well, he does. Incredible. He played the Ace Jack softly, but he feels that Ace King is strong enough to raise with, and well.
Yeah, see, I mean, this could actually turn out for Golden Jaguar.
Look, Gosmondo is in there now as the 8-10 suited. Little does he know, he's probably not that far behind with compared to the Ace Queen and Ace King. He's got 2 live cards, hasn't he?
See, now Golden Jaguar actually get out pretty cheaply out of this one.
Oh, look, no, Cat Attack hasn't, though. He's decided to stick all his chips in, and I don't really like that. And it's all over. Yeah. Gazmondo is our exiter, and not a good reason, not really a good hand to go out with, is it? 8-10 suited.
Especially so early in the tournament, I think I would have probably folded there.
Yeah, that's not a good hand to go out with 8-10 suited. Definitely don't want to do that, and you certainly don't want to lose a big chunk of change like Cat Attack did with Ace King. I mean, it's a nice hand, but it's you know, it is at the end of the day, it's nothing. It's the nut no pair. You know, you have nothing at the end of the day, and you've got to match something up, and. You know, there's no guarantees.
Absolutely.
Well, there's my favourite hand, Johan. 7-8 offsuit.
Yep, I'm gonna see. I think I would prefer to play the 6-5 suited to the 7-8. So
would you?
Yeah, I think so.
I know which one I would have. You'll learn the virtues of 7-8. Don't worry.
Well, we'll see what happens.
And it's especially good when you've got the button. Now, if he makes a strongish bet here, he could get away with it. Don't know if Pokemalk will think, well, it's too late now. He's let everyone else.
My 6-5 is on the lead here now.
Yeah, your 6-5 is in the lead. Does he know it? He should do. No one's bet the queen.
He doesn't have to be
He
afraid
should
of the
know
queen,
his queen. Oh, he doesn't bet. He should know his 5's in the lead. He's not. All he's done now is just let everyone else in to hit their card.
Yeah, and it's going to be difficult for him to call with the 5 now as well. I mean,
well, now it is that the king's arrived.
Yeah.
But he might still feel, he might put a stop bet. No one's trying it on. Gosh, we've got a passive table, haven't we? No one's going to make a play at this. Is Cat Attack going to have a little go at it? No. Well, Yeah, that was Czech City, wasn't it?
Absolutely, and I think the Storm is very lucky there. And with the 4 players in the pot, it's very unlikely that none has got a king. So yeah, it was pretty lucky. Let's see, we've got the Ace-Jack again against a pair of 2s. Let's see if this bet is just big enough to steal the blinds. No, it isn't.
No, Slow Steve wants to call to see, I don't know what. Well, 2 obviously. Well, I'm surprised that Poker Malk didn't make a play at that flop.
Yeah.
Well, he did now, and Slow Steve said, no 2 for me, so I have to get out of there. So Poker Malk was just perhaps worried that he was getting slow played there. He thought, well, if you check twice to me, you can't have it.
Yep. And we've got the Storm on the button with the Queen 10. I'd probably make a small raise here with that hand, actually. It's not a great hand, but he's got 3 players and 2 blinds that he could steal if he makes a small raise. And yeah, I probably would have raised a little bit. Maybe even got rid of that King 3 and had a chance at the pot.
Well, he's hit his straight, Golden Jaguar, which is pretty nice for him. All he needs now is for Slow Steve to hit another king or a 3 on the end, and it could be curtains for him, for Slow Steve. It might be curtains for him anyway. He might feel that that should slow things down for him.
That's
bad for Golden Jaguar, isn't it? That's the one card he didn't want to see, because now he might not get any action at all from Slow Steve. Well, he got a little bit, but he could have had all of it, couldn't he? Could have had all of it.
Absolutely.
So that's the kind of fortune you need, don't you? You need that kind of bit of fortune where the luck's with you. You get that, guys hit top pair, and you just the one card you want to avoid to make it easy for you to nick all of it. And
absolutely, yeah. It's and especially with his play earlier, it was very difficult to give Slow Steve the impression that he didn't have the ace. So yeah.
Well, he's playing this very strangely, Slow Steve, isn't he? He's letting card after card go. He keeps checking and checking and calling. This is he's raised on this occasion. But
he has to. I mean, he only had about 350.
Well, in the end he lost,
Yeah.
In the end he lost the guy making his 2 pair on the end. But he let him get there, that's the problem. He let him get there. Okay, all the money did go in on the turn. But, he's shown, he can't slow play a hand like King 5 with hitting top pair. It's just, even if you hit 5-5, it's still not a hand you really want to slow play.
And a good bet on the flop, if the other player calls that, well, then you really gave him bad odds for it, at least, which is going to pay out in the long run. So I think that's the way you have to go about it. If you have a 2 pair on the flop, then for sure you may want to slow play that.
So when would you say, a lot of viewers do ask us from time to time, when is a good time to slow play a hand?
Well, for starters, I think when we've got a lot of players against you, it could be really worthwhile just getting that call from all the other players. Could really add up to a lot of money, rather than racing right after the bet and lose a lot of players. I think that's the first. And secondly, I think when you've had a pre-flop race against you before, he's probably going to bet out pretty hard and just tag along and then re-race at the flop.
So let the other guy do the betting for you, in essence.
Absolutely, yeah. Just take you through it, and then just before the showdown, you go all in or something like that. I think that's pretty good.
Excellent stuff. Okay, so you had a good bit of advice there from Johan, and that's the thing to remember is there's certain times when you actually want to slow play a hand, and there's certain times not to slow play a hand. So it's a good, important thing to remember when.
Absolutely, and it's also important to remember not to make too much of a habit of it. So you want to keep it a little bit random, so your opponents never really know if you're slow playing something or just
on a draw.
Or on a draw, yeah, exactly.
Well, we've got Cat Attack with the big slick. He fell in love with it before, and it cost him a good portion of his stack, about 70% of his stack. Let's see what happens this time. Well, he's playing a little softer, and it hasn't worked out for him on that Ace King, is it? It's so,
and he's up against the Queen.
And now he probably thinks that his Ace King is good, and I don't blame him. He probably thinks his Ace King is good. He thinks, okay, well, you can't have a Queen now. And he's lost 80% of his stack, 85% of his stack with ace king now.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah, horrible, isn't it?
it's pretty tough to having to fold that at the end. I mean, the bet wasn't too big, but still, in relation to his stack, it was just too much.
It was, yeah. It was a big portion of his stack, wasn't it?
This is a tough call for him.
Part of the problem was, you know what the problem was really there, is his pre-flop action.
Absolutely.
He made it double the raise. Why would you, if you're going to raise, then either make a significant raise or don't raise. One of the two. Don't make a little pre-flop raise which doesn't do very much. There are times to do that, but I don't think that's really one of them.
Absolutely. I think he probably wouldn't have gotten a call from Golden Jaguar because he didn't have that great a hand. And that would have meant that he'd stolen the blinds, and sometimes you have to be happy with that.
Now, some people like to do that. They like to put that little minimum raise in. And one of the reasons they say they like to do it is because it builds the pot up, which is fine if you want to do that. But you've got to build a pot up for when you hit, not for when you miss.
Yeah.
There's no point building a pot and then you miss and you're still piling money into it, because then it's too late.
Absolutely.
So you're risking a little bit pre-flop in order to get something post-flop, I hope. So that is understandable. But you've got to appreciate if you miss, then you should have to accept that you've got to get away from it.
And I suppose you can always argue that by making a small raise like that, you get you scare away the worst hands, sort of 7-4s and stuff like that people might have on the big blind or a small blind, and make it worthwhile just calling and seeing what's going on. With a small raise, you're sure you're not going to get up against that, or it increases your odds of not being hit by that anyways. Yeah.
And Emma Royd is going to take a walk. King 5, no good against a set of jacks. And Pokemalk adds some money to his stack.
Yeah, it's
and
pretty,
we're already down to 5.
Yeah,
already down to 5. Incredible. I was saying, when I last played my last one, I played a fairly conservative game. And the blinds were 163.20 and no one had gone out. And this one, the blinds are 20.40 and already 3 have gone out. So
it's quite interesting. It's all about what the players do. I mean, some players, if you end up on a table where everyone's sort of taking it easy and protecting their stack, of course it's going to take a long while before someone goes out. Whereas here, people have been quite aggressive at times and had some pretty good pocket hands as well. So that naturally speeds up the game.
Yeah, it does. I'm not a minger, I've seen before. King 9 suited, he elects to call. Have a look. And bottom pair for a Golden Jaguar. Don't think he's going to fall too in love with it, but he might put a bet out here. He's only got one person to go through. Just wondering whether I'm Not a Minger's got a queen or a pocket pair in his hand, and he's put a little feeler bet.
I think that just might have been a little bit weak.
It was weak, but he's not going to get any calls because they can't call him with nothing. So it worked out okay for him. It was a little feeler bet, and they had no part of it. No draws of any kind, apart from backdoor flush draw, but that was about it.
So who's your favourite at this stage in the tournament, or this?
Well, I think Golden Jaguar's been playing a good game overall. Don't think he's done a lot wrong. I think there's 2 or 3 players. In fact, the last 5 remaining, I haven't seen really put a foot wrong. I mean, Cat Attack has been a bit exorbitant with his Ace King, but he's been a bit unlucky that he's had Ace King a couple of times, and in both cases he's missed completely. So that's a bit unfortunate as well. But certainly they've all played fairly okay game. So I think it's anyone's game at the moment. Even Cat Attack, all he needs is one of those Ace Kings to hit, and he's right back in it.
Absolutely, yeah. His problem here right now is that he must take it a little bit easy, not get too carried away and eager to sort of build back. I think at the same time not become too conservative, of course, but just try to contain a little bit.
Look at the hand. Look at the hand he's been given.
And it's up against the 6-5 as well.
Against your favourite hand, yeah. It's not suited this time.
We'll see how it goes.
Now, let's see.
See if he's brave enough to match out on this one. I think he can take it now.
Well, who's going to take it first? First, I bet will win. Pokemalk is probably going to do it now because he thinks there's no way I can win with my 6 high. So I have to bet, see if I can take it on the flop. No, they're both scared of each other. Well, Cat Attack, is he going to try and win this? He could do those 80 chips. No, he's said, go on, Malk, you take it, mate. I don't want it.
See if Pokemon takes the hint and puts a bet in.
God, these two guys, they wouldn't make very good bank robbers, would they? They'd be putting money in as a part thing to taking it out.
I suppose, yeah. And Catch Attack's going to be pretty surprised right now to actually win with his 7-8.
With 8 high, yeah. But he gave him a chance to catch up, didn't he? Catch up, and he's just lucky that he didn't. And now would have felt if he had 9 high, the other guy, if he had 9 deuce or something.
Oh well.
Well, he's lost a lot of chips, and I suppose he doesn't want to lose any more, but you've got to speculate to accumulate, haven't you, in this game?
Absolutely, and I think he might have taken my advice a little bit too literate on the words, you know, trying to be conservative with his stack, but...
Yeah, I'm not convinced that you're Swedish. I'm still not convinced of that. I've never met a tight Swedish player yet.
Oh, well, he's sitting right in front of you, so... That said, we've never actually played against each other yet, so...
No.
To my knowledge, anyways.
No, we haven't. No, I don't think so. So, 3 2s for the Storm. He's pretty happy with that. He's got to know he's in the lead. He's hoping that Cat Attack somehow catches up, and he hasn't. So... And we know Cat Attack won't bet without anything, generally speaking. We've seen him not bet, so you can only call here, but he's got nothing to call with. So I assume he'll fold, but he's been doing sort of opposite things, Cat Attack, so you never know what he's likely to do. No.
I think that's a hand that might be good to slow play, actually. You've got to hit the trips, and it's a really low trip, so it's not a card that, or cards that people are really afraid of. Yeah, you've got the opportunity to slow it and play that one, especially if you're only up against one player.
Well, it just shows you what bad hands you can get. Look at all these bad hands here. And King 9, the best of it, gosh. Well, he's on the button, so you might fancy a little steal. I'm not sure. He's got enough chips and he's not in any danger, so I suppose he probably will put a little bet in here. He does.
Yeah, it's a pretty sizable bet as well.
Yeah, and that's a fair bet, isn't it? I'm not a minger, can't really call with a Queen 6.
No, it's very difficult.
And,
so, yeah. I think that was the correct way to play his
yeah, absolutely, done it well. He's got another hand here, which you'll probably want to do a similar raise with. Yeah, he does. And Cat Attack.
He's going to have to fold this one.
Yeah, he might just get to the point where he's just fed up and just sticks it all in. You know, he's getting beaten up left, right, and centre, and there might be a breaking point. He says, you know what, enough is enough. I've had enough, and this could be the hand. You know, he might think this is the 3rd time Storm has done it in a row, and he might just say, you know what, I'm going to take a fly of my 6-7.
I think it depends a little bit.
No, he won't do it now.
No, it's going to be more difficult when 2 people call.
Yeah, he won't do it now, and I'm not Minger's starting to have enough. And I think he thinks, well, Storm, how many times are you going to keep raising? And he's had genuine hands every time, hasn't he? Oh, look at that, that's worked out nice for him.
Absolutely.
All he needs now is for an ace to appear on the turn, and he'll be laughing. Or a heart, for that matter. Or a 7, even. He would prefer an ace, though, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the best way to get us...
Yeah, I'm not a Minger. Sucker into the straight, backdoor straight draw. There's one thing going for backdoor straights and flushes, but certainly don't want to do it when you've got the sucker end of the straight.
I think that's a good bet from Golden Jaguar. It's small race, and
well, look at this, Johan. We've got Ace 10 against Ace King.
Yes, and
we know that he's not going to let it go without a raise, isn't he? To the Storm. No, he's just flat called. That's very unusual, isn't it?
Yeah. This is
oh no, there was a bet. We missed it. There was a little bet because the pot is 360, so they must.
Yeah, so that was Golden Jaguar's raise.
Oh, okay.
The Storm called.
Okay, so far we've got aces and 3s, and well, the only way you can get out if there's an ace or 3 appears.
Yeah, and this is exactly the worst type of situation. Well, you've got the top pair, but
you've got aces up, in fact. So you know, you're feeling pretty comfortable.
But unless you got a 3 or another ace, you've lost it. You know.
Yeah, need an ace or a 3, didn't come. So Storm has lost a lot of his chips. Yeah, done a lot of hard work there, and unfortunate there. Bit unlucky the way it turned out.
I think the Storm was a bit lucky, anyways. That Golden Jaguar didn't make him pay more for that. He's still got 1700.
So 6-7 for Golden Jaguar. The Storm with his 5-3. Will he try and steal it? He's not going to play it. He's not going to call with it, I'm sure. Probably as he intends to steal post flop. Let's have a look. No, he decided that to be conservative.
Right, and we've got King 10. I think in this situation, I'd probably make a small raise with the King 10 here. Actually, it's not the best hand, but
well, it's worked out okay for him because he's picked up a king along the way with a worse kicker. So it could mean he gets a few chips here. And Golden Jaguar is oh look, he's re-raising. Oh, how horrible is
terrible.
that?
Yeah, but
we can get out of it if a jack comes.
Yeah, and I think the 3 hearts might have scared him a little bit as well.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he's worried about that. So kings and kings and 5s beats kings and 3s, and things seem to be going Golden Jaguar's way, doesn't he?
Absolutely. Yeah.
When he's behind, he manages to catch his kicker. When he's in the lead, the opponent doesn't. So.
Absolutely.
It's worked out okay for him so far.
He's got a pretty good lead here. He's up at over 4,000 chips, and the second one is Storm at 1,700. So he's pretty comfortable at the moment, I'd say, especially with 2 players of around 500 chips. So I think what he wants to do is try to lean a little bit on these guys rather than going after Storm's money at this point.
Well, things have slowed down a little bit, haven't they? We had 3 go out very quickly, and now they've settled down slightly. I think Cat Attack and I'm Not a Mingo decided to bide their time and try and wait for a hand. And everything is going Golden Jaguar's way. Look, we're going to see a move here by Malk, and Golden Jaguar's got the lead at the moment. He'll probably want to bet out here, I think, to see where he is, see if a king or jack is in Poker Malk's hand. And yeah, that's what he's done. And Poker Malk can't call, no. So a good piece of play there by Golden Jaguar.
Yeah, he's just continuing. He's in a real streak here. He's probably not going to play this 4-2 though.
No, I think I'm Not a Mingo might though. I think he's just going to shove it in here. He's probably looking, he thinks, yeah, I could do with 120 chips added to my stack. That's more than 20% of my stack. So, yeah, and no one can call in with those kind of hands, ace-4, that kind of thing. So, I'm Not a Mingo. Adds another 120 to his stack. That makes him a little healthier.
Yes, but
lines have just gone up as well.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be very difficult for I'm Not a Mingo to stay in very much longer. He's going to have to take a chance in a situation like this. And,
well, he's got the hand to do it. Ace Queen, pretty strong in this scenario. And the Storm might fancy a little steal here with the short stack. No, he doesn't. Golden Jaguar, I think, will though. Yeah. And I'm Not a Mingo is going to shove it all in, and Golden Jaguar is committed.
Yes, and he needs...
Oh, he's got a spade draw. Oh, he's hit the straight instead. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Gosh, when your luck's in, your luck's in. Hey, Johan.
Yep. Gosh. And I think this is a good day for Golden Jaguar to play the lotto as well as poker.
Yeah, he's had a few lucky draws there, hasn't he? And everything's gone his way. So there you go. Well, there's the pre-flop folds for you, showing you the percentage of how tight or how loose a player is. I'm Not a Mingo, before he dearly departed, was on the highest percentage, playing a fairly tight game, 80%. And Cat Attack, who was early on playing a looser game, has now tightened up, but he's on 61 overall. Golden Jaguar right bang in the middle, 67. In other words, he's playing about a third of the hands.
I think that's pretty good in a shorthand tournament like this. Right, we've got the Storm, whom we haven't seen much from for the past couple of hands. He's got an ace-10, and he got a raise all in by Poker Malk. And the Storm takes this one with his ace kicker, and the Poker Malk is out of the tournament. I think the Storm might actually have a chance here now.
No chance. This guy's catching everything.
Well, yeah. So in Golden Jaguar,
when the poker gods are with you, they're with you.
Absolutely.
And I think they're with Golden Jaguar, and I don't think they're going to leave him.
Maybe not.
You would never know, though. You never know.
See, probably see a race here from Catch Attack.
Yeah, they're both going to go at it, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not going to fold, I don't think, for the extra 300 or whatever it is, 400. So 390 to the Storm. I don't think he can fold this from a razor from the small blind.
Well, he's thinking about it, apparently. So.
Yeah, no, I don't think he could. I don't think he could. Well, he's got an 8 or a 6 or an ace. 8, 6 or an ace required. No.
No luck.
No, all too late. Pair of fives, no good against 2 pair. Yeah, you made the right call, I thought.
Yeah, I think so as well. Oh, Catch Attack, I think he's got some of Golden Jaguar's luck here.
Oh, well, he doesn't want to take any chances, does he? He thinks, I'll take the 240. And I wonder whether he could have done something a little bit more with that. Bit of a dangerous hand to do it with, but I think worthy of a little slow play there in some fashion.
Absolutely.
I don't think a big raise all in was quite the right answer. Still, 240 is 240. You never know. The other guy could have woken up with a hand.
Absolutely.
Sort of a medium ace, ace-9 or something like that, he might have called. Well, that was good play there by the Storm.
Well, there's a lot of hearts out right now, and Golden Jaguar starts out. So he's going to get a call from the Storm here, I think. It's not a great hand to play, but I think he can't afford really to fold this one. The bet is not very intimidating at this stage. No, he did fold. So.
Okay, well, we've got a couple of emails. We're going to take a break from that. Johan will come straight back to it after our interview and break. So let's do the emails. This one is from Sarah, and it's quite an interesting one. We had a little discussion a little while back about the term bubble. Where did it come from? Okay. And no one knew on the show where it actually came from. They knew it was poker related, but no one knew where it came from. Anyway, this is from Sarah. So thanks very much for your email, Sarah. And Sarah says, hi guys, a while ago the term on the bubble was discussed on Poker Night Live, and whether it originated in poker or whether it had migrated into poker from a sport. I can't remember if anyone actually knew, and I don't think they did. So I thought you'd be interested to know that it was used in Formula 1 today. Under the new qualifying rules, in the first session, the bottom 6 are eliminated. Ralf Schumacher, the driver with the best time of those 6, as going out on the bubble.
It's very interesting.
There you go. So poker's taking over the world, she says. And great show. Keep up the good work. Thanks very much for that one, Sarah. And there you are. We are. Poker terms.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very nice to hear that people are taking it after us.
Yeah. So we've got one from a text from Craig in Wales, and he wants to know that how come you and Johan Haren are never in the same place at the same time?
Well, if you mean never playing on the same table, so I think I can quite say that I haven't revealed my nickname. So
okay, we'll have to come back to that one.
Yeah.
All right. We've got a phone in from Michael Caselli, so let's go and see if he's on the line, and we'll check out right back here. And we've got Michael Caselli on the phone from Bluff Magazine. How are you doing, Michael? Are you there?
I'm very good. Thanks for giving me a call. Thanks for phoning me in.
Yeah, no problem. Glad that you could make it. I've got in the studio with me, I've got Johan Eld, our Swedish representative.
Good morning, Johan.
Good morning. How are you going?
A couple of things, Michael. You were on last week, I believe, and for the people that aren't familiar with your magazine, tell us a little bit about your magazine and what you do.
Well, yeah, Bluff Europe just is hitting the distribution points, i.e., most of the UK card rooms this week. We're probably if there's poker in the card room, you're probably going to find Bluff. So this week is basically when we're shipping everything out, and yeah, we've got our March edition hitting the shelves. We've got Phil Hellmuth on the cover, and it's our very first edition of Bluff Europe. And essentially, in this edition, we've swapped out a lot of the content that we thought was particularly American-focused, and just went with more European-style tournaments, personalities, and some players. So, for instance, we have a celebrity interview with Michael Greco, who everyone in the UK will remember as Beppe from EastEnders.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's a big poker player. If you play poker often, you've probably seen him around at some of the tournaments. I've actually played against him a few times, and he's actually a pretty good player.
Yeah, I've played with him once actually in
he's
a Luton Satellite.
He's not bad. How do you do against him?
He knocked me out actually.
Yeah,
he made a call with a bad cards, and he sucked out on me. What can you do?
Well, he usually makes it at least into the middle of the field, which proves that he's not such a bad player. And there are a lot of American and British celebrities that play poker, and you find that throughout Europe. So Bluff is going to be focusing on a lot of European celebrities that play poker. So we're going to be doing that each issue. Another article that we brought in exclusively for the European edition of Bluff magazine, excuse me, is this coverage of the Monte Carlo Millions, which took place, just a few months ago. I think it's going to be hitting television next month, if I'm not mistaken. So it's timed very nicely. I'm not going to spoil the ending, although most people probably have read about it online and found out who won. But we had Paul Spellian, who played in the tournament, review it, and it is absolutely hilarious.
Oh, excellent. Okay, and that's coming out in the March edition.
That's going to be out this week. Yeah, you can pick it up in your Bluff Europe copy this week.
Excellent.
We also focused on the Ladbrokes Poker Cruise. Now, of course, Ladbrokes Poker Cruise didn't take place in Europe. However, Ladbrokes, being a predominantly European brand, brought the focus back in here to the UK. And we've got, about 4 pages of coverage on the Ladbrokes Poker Cruise. So all in all, we've actually switched out probably 10, 15, 20% of the content and really Europeanized what we would normally do in Bluff magazine. Now, what we haven't done is taken out some of the starring players. We've got Mike Caro still in there, Antonio Esfandiari is still in there, Annie Duke is there. We still keep our Ask Cloney Gowan article, Jennifer Tilley, Phil Lack, Kenneth James, Ed Moncada. Those guys are still in the magazine. But what we've done is we've just added a whole bunch more that's really focused on what's happening in the European poker scene.
Well, it's interesting you say that because you've mentioned a lot of American players. Are there any Europeans in there?
Absolutely. In fact, we have a whole spread on the Circle of Outlaws. Now, most people will know about the Circle of Outlaws already, but if you don't, essentially it's an ensemble, an assembly of near superhuman players put together by Marcel Lusk. So it's a hand-picked team. He trains them, tutors and mentors them.
Yeah.
And essentially they work not together as far as collusion, but work together as far as sometimes maybe bankrolls and backing each other. And of course, with Marcel Lusk leading the team, every one of the team members becomes much, much more aggressive players following in kind of the Marcel Lusk style. Okay. And the article really focuses on how some of these guys have near superpowers. One of the members of the Circle of Outlaws is a mathematical genius.
I'm going to have to cut you in there, cut into you there, Michael, because we're just coming up to the end of this segment. But can you come back in about an hour?
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, we'll see you shortly. We'll be right back after this.
Fantastic.
Welcome back to Poker Night Live with myself, Mark, Prince Charles Banin, and we've got our special guest from Sweden, and his name is Johan Haren. No, it's not really Johan Haren. It's Johan Eld. Anyway, let me give you some details how you can get in contact with the show. There are various ways you can do that. First way is by text, and that is 62211. Put your name in the first part of the text message. That's the one way of doing it. There's another way of doing it, of course, and that is by email, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. That's another way of doing it. And the most exciting way of doing it is by leaving your voice on our answer machine, which is 0906 200 70 80, and we'll play your voice back live on air. And if you've got a good question, we'll put it on there later on this evening. So they're the three ways you can do it, and don't forget, we're here to answer all and any of your questions, so please contact the show if you need to and you'd like to. So we've got a multi-table tournament which we were looking at earlier. We've also got a sit-and-go tournament that we were just in the middle of. So let's head back to our multi-table tournament, just have a little dip in there and see what's going on there.
Right, and as we can see, the blinds are at 300, 600, so they've gone up quite a bit since we last checked.
Yeah, it has, yeah. There are 38 players remaining at the moment. So this is an interesting time, isn't it, Johan?
Absolutely,
because it's almost bubble time. So,
exactly.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting situation to be in, isn't it, with the bubble?
Absolutely, and as you remember, there are 30 players that get prize money, so yeah, we've got 8 people here that needs to be kicked out before we can start counting the...
So you're going to see them doing a lot of this, aren't you? Sort of folding without a hand.
Absolutely.
Now, it's interesting because 1 or 2 players will actually decide to push the boat out a bit and they'll try and bully the rest of the field. But you've got to have the chips to do that, haven't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you'd want to pick on perhaps medium stacks, wouldn't you? You wouldn't really want to pick on small stacks. You don't want to pick on the big stacks. You want to beat up on the stacks that you feel are sort of semi-comfortable, not that comfortable, around the 9,000 mark, probably.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that we can see this is what Toon Badger is doing here. He's in a pretty comfortable situation with 27,000, and he's racing and stealing blinds and even small bets.
Okay. Well, I've got some interesting news, Johan. We've got James from Bluff Europe on the line, who's phoning us in from the Monte Carlo Millions, I believe.
That's very interesting.
Excellent. So, James, are you there?
Mark, you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, James. How are you?
Hey, how you doing? Hey, Johan. How are you, mate?
How you going, yeah?
All good.
So James, it's been exciting stuff there by the looks of it. I've been following on the website the various things that have been going on there, and it's quite an interesting situation. We had we only had 2 named players on that final table, didn't we?
That's exactly right. I mean, when the final table first started, we had Marcel, obviously, and we had Ross Boatman from the Hendon mob. The rest of the guys were pretty much sort of your more unknown or internet qualifiers, and the action at the very beginning wasn't looking like much was going to happen, but all of a sudden Marcel got a horrendous bad beat, which was quite a shame because he was giving a lot to the table in terms of charisma, and from then on it just kind of rolled on and the action really heated up.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the stuff that was going on. I mean, Marcel was in fairly good chip position, wasn't he? He had around 486,000 at the start of the final. And he lost in a toss-up with Ross, didn't he, against Queens against Ace-King. And then I think he lost against Ace-Queen. He bumped into a pair of Queens again, but this time with his Ace-Queen. And he obviously didn't hit an ace that time either.
Yeah, no, he had quite a bad beat. He went in, I think it was pocket 8, and he came up against 3-7 and was looking like he was going to take it. But got done on the turn and the river.
Yeah, I saw that. That was a Jack 7, wasn't it?
It was a double 7, and he got done with trip 7s. And most people, including Marcel, were not particularly happy about it, as I said, because out of all the guys on the table, he was the one who was sort of, keeping the banter up, etc. But, in any case, after that, it kind of heated up. We went to the break with 4 left. Straight away we had Thierry, I think it's Casals from France, was knocked out. And then it was down to Alexander, who was a Norwegian. And we had Jeff Williams, who really was the surprise of the tournament, an internet qualifier who was unheard of. And his play was absolutely fantastic. He doesn't particularly look the part,
But when he gets on the table, he really, really knows what he's doing. He's sitting there with the sunglasses and was absolutely fearless in what he was doing. Went in a couple of huge all-in situations, really with the aplomb of a seasoned pro, and eventually came up against our son, who's an English guy. And I don't know if you saw it online, but basically it was an all-in pre-flop. Our son had ace-8 offsuit. Jeff had ace-10 offsuit. Yeah. And they got no love at all across the whole the river, the turn. And basically it ended up 5-9, 7-7-3, and Jeff ended up winning. And it was great scenes because a lot of us were kind of rooting for him as the underdog.
Yeah, I mean, I was having a look at some of his. He had quite a few all-in coups from behind. He wasn't all-in himself, but there were ones where he had the Jack-7 against the Marcel's 8s, and he knocked him out for that one. And he also had the Ace-4 against an Ace-10, and rivered the flush on the guy.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, he played it in your typical American fashion. You know, these guys, they don't muck around. He did his absolute best, and as I said, really became a huge favourite with the fans. When he won, I think he was more in shock than anyone else. When he was presented with the trophy, he was a little bit speechless. I mean, I would be too, staring down at €900,000.
That's not a bad price to take home, is it?
Absolutely. I mean, for basically an unknown internet qualifier to leave out of here with almost €1 million is a brilliant, brilliant effort.
Now, just so our viewers know, this was the Monte Carlo Millions, is that right?
No, this isn't the Monte Carlo Millions. This was the final of the EPT Tour.
Oh, in Monte Carlo?
In Monte Carlo, exactly.
Right, okay. So this is the EPT Monte Carlo. Now, what was the buy-in for this?
I believe it was about €10,000.
About €10,000, right. And how many players started off, do you know?
We had, in total, I think it was about 283. So the prize pool altogether was $3 million. And then first place was taking 900,000. But look, the guys that came in second, third, and fourth still walked away with well in excess of €250,000. So, look, I mean, I think without a doubt the tournament was a success. Monte Carlo really turned on the glitz and glamour, and people were getting behind it. And it's actually been a really good time to be here.
Excellent. So you'd recommend it, would you?
What was that, sorry?
You'd recommend it for any of our viewers for next year to take a trip down there?
Absolutely. Look, I mean, this is my first trip to Monaco. I've been blown away. I mean, as you know, it's an incredible city.
Uh-huh.
The amount of it's absolutely stunning. The casino they had it at was beautiful, and PokerStars and EPT put on a great show.
Well, excellent. Well, thanks very much for your report, James. It's been good hearing from you, and hopefully we'll have another one on your next travels.
My absolute pleasure, and best of luck. I'll speak to you soon.
Great. Thanks a lot, James.
Okay, bye, guys.
That was James from Bluff Europe magazine. Give us an update on the EPT from Monte Carlo. So our thanks go out to him and to his magazine. So we're going to go back to our $20 sit and go, which we left just before the break. So it was three-handed, if I remember. Let's see what's happened. And there we go. And excellent. Right where we left off. Okay.
Yes. We've got Cat Attack with 1,300, Storm with 1,500, and Golden Jaguar just over 5,000.
Yeah. And
I dare say he's in a pretty comfortable situation here. And he's got pocket fours at the moment. And he raises pretty heavy, forces Cat Attack to go all in, which he does, and is in the lead after turn. And unless we hit, no, he wins with his pair of fours. And that means that Cat Attack is out of the game, and it's left to the Storm to try to tackle Golden Jaguar with in heads up. It's not going to be very easy for him. He's only got 1,300 against Golden Jaguar's 6,600. And what we're seeing now is that both players are sort of waiting out, trying to get a good hand, and we're probably going to see, yep, this is it. Storm goes all in with the Queen 8. Oh, and Golden Jaguar actually folds. And I thought he would take the opportunity and call him down and try to end this, but...
Yeah, didn't want to. Well, head to head.
It's probably not going to call this one either, then, with a 9-4. No. Right, we've got Queen 4 in clubs against two queens.
Right,
Golden
yeah.
Jaguar is really, he's just letting Storm take stealing blind from him.
Yeah,
From him.
well, he wants a hand to do it with, doesn't he? And I think this is probably going to be the one.
Probably.
No, he doesn't want to do it on that occasion. Wisely so. Right, Johan, it's my turn to actually represent the presenter.
Yes.
In Beat the Presenter. So I'm just going to wait for a table to open up. And for any of you out there that are going to be playing in this, if you can leave seat 4 open for me, I shall slip in there. So if you see seat 4, try all the other seats, please, but not this one.
So which table are you playing on, just to clarify for...
Well, I don't know if I should say that, because probably otherwise I'll get everyone coming onto that table. So whichever table it is, if you just leave seat 4 open.
For a little while.
And if you don't see me instantly go in there, then you'll know.
Right, and on our sit and go, we're all in here. The Storm is all in with Ace King and Golden Jaguar. It's got Jack 4. Both of them has got a pair at the moment, and the Storm is going to take this one with his pair of aces.
Well, tide has turned.
I think that was probably a little bit quick for Golden Jaguar to go all in against the Storm. He's been waiting earlier, and he probably could have waited a couple of extra hands without being, instead of being the underdog here.
Well, this is not the hand to do it with, is it? 2-7, 7-2 offsuit.
Obviously not, no. Golden Jaguar has to try and steal blinds here, and that's what he did. He didn't have anything himself, but he betted out pretty hard. And if he can keep this up and steal a little bit, I think he's going to take home the still, although he's still the underdog at the moment. And I think both players are actually stepping up a little bit now, realizing that, okay, this is a heads-up game, so we've got to play a little bit different. And it's pretty tough. They're almost taking every other hand, sort of stealing the other one's big blind. And the Golden Jaguar makes a big bet, and Storm folds. Right, and next we're going to have a look at the cash game, but we're going to, and that's the 50-cent $1. But we're just going to see whether Golden Jaguar or the Storm takes this one.
Who's your money on, Johan?
Well, Golden Jaguar has actually gotten his lead back to 5,400, whereas the Storm is down on 1,700 and going all in now on the King Jack, taking it back. But I think that ultimately we're going to see Golden Jaguar walk away. He's had tremendous luck throughout the evening. And poker gods had been on his side, and he's making a pretty strong effort here. So I think he'll come out on top.
Okay, I'm managed to get into the table. They kindly left a seat open for me.
That's great.
Should be fun.
And may I say good luck?
Thank you.
To you.
Thank you.
And to the players on Mark's table, be gentle with them. You know?
Yeah, I think I'll just let them knock each other out first, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Yep. And as you can see on our sit and go, it's still pretty even game. Going back and forth a little bit, but not any major moves. They're both kind of worried about calling each other. Well, this one we actually get Golden Jaguar going all in on the 5-9 in clubs, getting called by Queen 10 in clubs. And Golden Jaguar actually hit his pair of 5s on the river. So now he's in the definite lead with 6,500, and the Storm is all in. And if Golden Jaguar, no, he didn't hit anything, and the Storm is going to take this one back with his King Kicker. not really a big thing. Golden Jaguar's got about 5,000, and Storm is going all in with his 1,000 here, and Golden Jaguar's got Ace 2 against Jack 8. And yes, that's it. Golden Jaguar takes this one.
Ah, so he did eventually win it then?
Yes. So now we're moving on to a cash game, which is 50 cent $1. We can see here, this is some stats for how the chip movements went.
So, right, okay, well there's the chip movements.
Yeah.
So I'm just in the middle of a hand here, Johan.
That's
so I'm just
all right.
oh, that's a big raise there. Okay, we'll fold that. So, yeah, that was quite an interesting one. It was backwards and forwards there for a while,
Oh,
wasn't
it was, yeah. And I think we saw it. They both sort of geared up to they were a little bit wary of their situation when they just became heads up. But they both stepped up pretty quickly and played a very aggressive game, trying to steal each other's blinds, and that worked very well for them.
Excellent stuff.
For a long while.
Good. Right, I'm going to get back to my game. So let's head straight over to a 50 cent $1 cash game.
And as you know, cash games is right up my alley, so as opposed to tournaments. So we'll see if I can give you some pointers here. As you can see, we've got 8 players on the table, with Mr. Knudsen at 160, which is the chip leader of the... No, sorry, we've got Multi86 at $236 here at the bottom, and seat 4. And he makes a big bet, which is €4. About 4 times the big blind, which I think is a good bet on the King Jack. Don't want to make more than that, and less than that is just not going to be taken seriously. Okay, let's see. We've got King 10 here. He calls only on that one. I'd probably try to make a small raise on that one. We've got Crip 17 instead, racing with Ace 9 spades. And we're going to see if we can get a good hand. No, Crip takes this one home. So, Mark, how's it going over there?
It could be better, Johan. It could be better. Oh, marvellous. I've been stitched up here twice. Oh, well.
Right.
That wasn't so good. That wasn't so good, Johan.
Right, tell me what happened.
What happened? I won't tell you what happened. I had a decent hand and unfortunately had a better one.
Right.
So, yeah, stitch up that. I went card dead. Well, when I say card, sorry, cold decked, should I say, not card dead. Okay, well, that's not very good, is it?
No.
Not very good. That's two last places so far. I've played 2 games and finished last twice.
That's terrible, yeah.
Not good. Not good. All right. Let's see what happens on the next one. I'm going to have another go, I think.
Yep, and remember that we'll have a look at Mark's game later on and scrutinise it, see if we can spot any mistakes or if it's just bad luck. Anyways, back to our cash game. We've got Snap It, an old player. We saw him earlier tonight as well. And Taff is taking that small pot. Doubt that we're going to see a lot of action on this hand. We've got Honest Dave with Ace King on the button, and he's probably going to steal and... oh, no, he didn't get any calls on that race. So, Mark, how's it going over there? Have you gotten on to the second table? Or?
Not yet. I'm just waiting.
Okay.
Just waiting for one to open up, so I'll zoom into the
Right, so there's his second chance to play against Mark. Please take a chance and make sure he comes out early again, if you can.
Yeah, see if I can make it 3 last places in a row.
That'd be terrible, wouldn't it? Last week when I had a go at Beat the Presenter, I was thrown out pretty early on in the first game I played, and I came in 4th, just outside the money on the second game I played.
Second game? Oh yes, that's right. It was you played 2, didn't you?
Yes. So I mean, anyone can be beaten in the early games, can't you? And sometimes you just don't have the gods on your side.
No, I mean, once that board came down the way it did, I was dead. I was dead in the water.
Yeah,
it was questionable pre-flop call from me, possibly.
Right.
But once that flop came down, that was it. I was out. As you shall see.
Yep. We'll, as I said earlier, we'll have a look at Mark's game and see if we can spot any mistakes or commend some of his actions.
Yeah. And just for those guys that are waiting to play at another table, don't forget, leave seat 4 open for me.
And in the cash game, we've got SG145 with Ace King, and he's on the big blind. So let's see what happens here. He's only been called by Honest Dave, and with a raise to 5. Oh yes, Honest Dave did call. Let's see, SG raises, bets 4, and that was enough for Honest Dave, although he's only 1 card away from the straight. Let's see, we've got pair of 9s, possibly up against Mr. Knutsen's Queen Jack. Just going to see how this goes.
Well, someone's decided not to leave seat 4 open for me, so it looks like I'll be waiting a little longer.
Right, perhaps you would join me and speculate about the players here then for a little while and see if you can come in later.
Yeah, looks like I'll have to wait for the next one.
Right, SG is continuing to getting his pocket pairs. He's got 5s right now, up against 2 pretty mediocre hand. Corey Lad calls with an 8-3, and he hits the 2 pair. Obviously, he hopes that he's up against the ace now, which is not really the case, so he's probably going to take that one, yeah. Mr. Knutsen's got King Jack, and Multi's got pair of 7s, and Honest Dave's got pair of Jacks here. It could be a very interesting hand. Let's see what happens. Multi raised to 3, Knutsen called, and Honest Dave re-raised to 5, which got called by both players then. And Multi hit his 3 of a kind on the flop, and Honest Dave bets out on 4, so this is possibly going to be very costly for Honest Dave. Multi doesn't take any chances, but re-raises about 3 times Honest Dave's bets, which causes Knutsen to fold, and I think that's the only thing he can do there. But on Multi's case, I think I might have been a little bit more cautious, and he's got the full house here, and comes out as the chip leader under the table after that.
Okay, just to let you guys know out there, if you're waiting for me to come, I'll only come into seat 4, so I will not go into any other seat. So if you don't leave it free, you just have to wait for me to get into the next one.
Anyways, here we've got a hand with SG with pair of Jacks up against Crip's pair of 4s, pocket 4s. It's pretty interesting. Crip bets got a raise from SG and called it. And Mark, I think this is one of those games that I was talking about last week when, although the blinds are fairly low, we still have a pretty good game going. Most players aren't making too big mistakes, playing pretty tight as we can see, and betting on their hands when they should and shouldn't. And yeah, I feel that this is becoming increasingly the case, even at sort of lower level blinds. Sort of the general skill level is increasing, which is good and bad, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. It is good and bad.
It's very nice, of course, to see that a lot of people are interested in playing poker, and but at the same time, it also makes it more difficult for. Right, we've got Taff here with an ace queen. Let's see if he can make some money out of it. I doubt it. He wasn't up against anything else, and no one was prepared to take any chances. This is possibly a hand we can see some action on. We've got a queen 10, king 10, and ace king suited. King 10 folds there. I think on the button, I think that was a little bit too tight. I probably would have called a bet that was only twice the amount of the big blind.
On the button, but he raised, didn't he? Multi 86, didn't he not raise to 3?
Yes, exactly. And Crip folded.
So it was 3 times. 3 times a big blind.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Well, yes.
Yeah. You'd like to call with King 10? I'm not so sure.
Yeah,
Unless I knew that Multi 86 was a loose player, which, judging by the amount of chips he has available to him, suggests that he possibly is a loose-ish player.
Yes, he was up against Honest Dave, who's now left the table and took a very big pot against him there. And yes, I still think a small raise like that, I think I would have called on the button with a king 10, absolutely, just to see what he had, and yeah, see what the flop came out as. See, we've got King Jack, which is another one of my hands that I like to play. I find that I usually make some money on that hand against a pair of 5s. I was going to say, and SG with his pocket pair choose not to raise before flop, waiting and hoping for that trips rather than play aggressively. And
well, there you are. You said you wanted trips. There you are. Trips for not for the player who thought though. Corey Land has the trips.
Yeah, and this is
and top pair for Cocoa Pops.
Yeah, it's going to be costly for him most likely.
Yeah.
If Corey Lad, this is a perfect situation where you want to play it a little bit cool. He's probably quite sure that Cocoa Pops has got the king, and just calling his bets here. And
but of course, if another king comes, he's in all sorts of trouble, hasn't he? He's lost out.
Absolutely, but I think that's a risk he's willing to take, because Cocoa Pot is going to be very committed to the pot here and find it difficult to fold.
Yeah. So nicely played there by Quarry Lad, I thought.
Absolutely.
He probably gleaned as much as he could out of that hand, wasn't he? Let's have a look at the pre-flop folds, percentage-wise. Mr. Knutson on a pretty high percentage, and Snap It, well, he's tightened up all of a sudden. He's now up to 87, and he's playing this game a little tighter than the other game that we saw earlier. So he's now up to 87%, so he's playing a fairly tight game. And SG, who's always played a fairly tight game. He's moved down to the bottom. He's now 68%. So that's interesting. We've seen a bit of a swap around there.
Yeah, but I also think it might have to do with that they haven't played for too long. So the card sort of could influence the statistics here as well. SG having had quite a few pocket pairs and stuff like that, which you want to
You would
follow.
play, yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. That's a good point, because these really, it depends on how many hands we're talking about to really
Absolutely, and
discern how loose or tight they're playing. Yeah.
And Coreyland has raised with the King Jack, and he steals the blinds. No one was willing to play. Gets another chance with an Ace Jack. See if he. Yeah, he makes a raise to 4, and get called by Taff 82 with the Ace 10. Just not a good hand to walk into Ace Jack with.
So I'm going to make it a little easier for these guys. I'm going to probably, let's have a look. In fact, I won't say which table yet because I'm not sure. There's a couple of tables that are sort of close to one another in terms of which one's going out first.
Okay.
And PUFC boy wanted to tell him about what a good play he made on me. I think the hand played itself, PUFC boy, really. The only thing different was me calling pre-flop. That was the only thing.
Right.
Yeah, but after the flop, I think it pretty much played for itself. I wasn't going to fold that hand, and obviously you were never going to fold that hand. So as you had the better hand, why should you? Yeah, by far. You had the nuts. So yeah. Anyway, let's have a look how you can get in contact with us. If you want to get in contact with us, you can do. And the way to do so is by text number 62211. There it is on your screen. And you can email us to poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. You can ask myself or Johan any questions. And don't forget, you can have your say. You can phone in and tell us what you really think. 0906 200 70 80. Well, in fact, don't tell us what you really think, but just ask us any questions you like. So that's the ways to contact the show. Any questions is for myself or Johan. We'd love to hear from you. So keep it going. We're going to be here till 2 o'clock. Let's get back to that cash game.
Right, and I don't think we've seen any major changes here, except for one player that has left us, unfortunately. Multi is still on the lead with his 270 chips, dollars, and Taff's got a pair of queens here, checks it to Multi, who bets without anything and gets a raise by Taff. I think that was a pretty good play by Taff. He checked his queen, and there was an ace on the table as well. So he wanted to see, got a small bet from Multi and re-raised it just to see where Multi was. He was probably likely to get more action from the ace, but not anything else. So it's a very good play, I think.
Well, it looks like these tables will probably, in fact, there's about 4 tables all about to open up all at about the same time. So that will be probably in about 5 minutes' time. So hopefully I should be able to get one in there quickly.
That's great, yeah. It's quite interesting, though. I think that when you speak to poker players, everyone seems to be able to tell you about their worst loss.
They're bad beats.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, all too keen, aren't they, to tell you a bad beat?
But and it's quite an interesting sort of human feature. You know, we all remember those really bad beats, but we never seem to remember our big wins. Really, that's just something that disappears from our minds quite quickly, whereas the losses stay with us for
in fact,
years and years.
Funny enough, I actually won with exactly the same hand that I just went out on. I actually won a big pot today in the cash game with exactly the same hand against a similar type of hand. But I won't say too much, otherwise it will give the game away a little bit. But certainly after that particular hand plays out, I shall tell you about it.
Yep.
So there you go. One lose and one big win and one loss.
Yep.
Don't forget, guys, leave seat 4 open for me.
Meanwhile, Snapit has worked his way up a little bit on $115 now. Makes a bet on the button and steals the blinds. As you can see, it's a very tight game going right now. No one's taking any real chances.
No, it's quite a sort of a lot of money on this table, really, considering it's a 50-cent $1 game. I mean, the maximum bind for this is $100, and we've got Snap It with 116, Multi 86 with 265, which is huge. He's had a good profit session.
Yep.
Mr. Knutson with 146, and everyone else, most people, apart from 2 players, are over the $100 mark.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
They're looking pretty good, aren't they?
And let's see what we've got here. We've got pocket queens and king 10. And they've both drawn the flush draw, queen against king. So we're going to see what happens here. Quarry Lad is making a bet of 12.
Well, he won't like that ace, will he? He won't like that ace.
No. But it's not going to help Multi either.
But he doesn't know that, does he? So, he likes that second ace, though, because that second ace means there's slightly less chance that Multi 86 has got one.
Yes, but then again, if Multi already has a done ace, well, no, Quarry Lad didn't believe Multi's bet there in the end anyways, and probably thinking just like you, and took the pot.
Right, coming close to fruition, where that table is going to open up. Don't forget, seat 4.
Yes. Meanwhile, we're going to see SG makes a small raise on King 10 in diamonds, getting called by Ace Queen by Quarry Lad. And he checks to Quarry Lad after the flop 7-3-2, who makes a small bet and takes the pot.
Right, managed to get a seat at last.
Did you?
Okay,
Right.
So
good luck now for
yeah, let's see if I can make it 3 final places in a row. That won't look very good, will it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we all have to look at at the plus side, you know. And so good luck to Mark. We'll be leaving him to concentrate on his game and stick with our cash game instead. And as we can see, Multi's got a pair of 2 pairs, and he takes the pot. Wasn't really big, but still, every little helps, as they say. And as Mark pointed out earlier, it's a lot of money on this table. Coco Pops now being the only one who's got less than $100, which is the minimum or maximum buy-in. So it's a pretty interesting table, and as you can see, it's quite a tight game going, and no one's really that interesting in taking a lot of risks at the moment, playing it a bit safe.
So what's it like doing sole commentary, Johan?
Oh, it's difficult. It's a lot easier when I got you to lean on, you know. But I see you're quite busy over there.
Yeah, I've played 2 hands and I haven't gone out yet, so that's pretty good. I'm pretty pleased about that.
Yep, that's very good. Let's see, we've got a Quarry lad who flopped 3 of a kind against Mr. Knudsen, but he's probably not going to get paid for this one, being that Mr. Knudsen only had 2-9 and no hit. Anyways, we've got 2 potential hands here. We've got Jack Queen on the button, and SG even makes a small raise to that, being called by 2 people, Ace 2 and 10 Queen. And Knudsen takes the pot after a small bet on his pair of 2s. Sorry, 2 pair, kings plus 2s, and gets the kings on the dealer button. Makes a small raise just to try to get the other players in, but didn't help, unfortunately. And he's just going to have to comfort himself with the winning the blinds. It's always boring when you get kings or aces in the pockets, and no one wants to play with you, isn't it? But it's part of the poker game, and just have to wait for the next time.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. All part of the game.
Absolutely. Now let's see, we've got 2 players with your favorite hand here, 7-8, against SG's King Jack. And
Oh,
he's
I
got
wish I had 7-8 now. That'd be pretty good.
Yeah, and I think that SG is going to win this one with this, or it's nearly impossible for a Crypt to call here, which he didn't, and SG wins the pot. Anyways, I think a lot of these players have been listening to to the show and decided to play the 7-8 offsuits a lot. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I know you would argue that it's definitely good.
Yeah, they're not. Well, I would have done well to muck it last time, but oh well.
Oh well, let's see. We've got Quarry lad in the lead with pair of 8s here, and he makes pots bet and takes the pot. Nothing really big, just one of those average hands you have to go through before you get the big one. Taft decides to raise, and he hits his kings on the flop, and Mr. Knudsen, unawares, bets out with his pocket 4s, and he's going to find it very difficult now to get out. Taft re-raises here, which I think probably is not quite as I would have played it. I probably would have stepped back a little bit. Let's Mr. Knudsen just pound the pots a little bit and raised after river instead. But Taff was probably reasoning that he only had a pair of kings in the end, and didn't want to give his opponent a chance to improve his hand. Corey Ladd bedside with the pocket sixes. So, would you give us a small report on how your game is going there now?
Yeah, it's not going too bad. Not going too bad. Let me just... there's a little interesting going on here. Just 1 second.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Okay, I think we'll just do that.
So, no players have gone out yet?
No players yet.
Right. Right, and we've got Crib here with one of my favorite hands, the 5-6, not the suited one, which would have been better. He raises and steals the blind with it. And judging from how these players have played earlier, quite conservative. I don't doubt we're going to see a lot of play here. We've got Snappit with pocket fives and Crip with 10-9 of diamonds. Coco Pops leading. No, sorry, being second after Snappit here with his ace high. And Crip is the one betting out. Sorry, Crip wasn't actually leading on his pair of nines. I didn't see that.
Well, the record has been broken. I definitely won't be finishing in last.
Congratulations. And did you have any part in ensuring that, or just gone with the flow? And
I'm sorry, say it once more.
Have you had any part in ensuring that?
A little. Yeah, sort of. I didn't. There was one hand I didn't play particularly well, and in fact, two hands I didn't play particularly well.
Okay.
But I should have concentrated a little bit more. Never mind.
The game is usually, as we talked about last week as well, incredibly fast.
It is, yeah, and you can't afford really to make any mistakes. But I'll discuss it when we go through. I'll tell you where I think I made a mistake.
Yep.
In fact, I pretty much know. In one of them specifically.
It's far too easy, though, in any game, whether it's a tournament or a cash game, to let your feelings or rule your game for a little while, and it can prove very costly sometimes. It's just something every poker player has to struggle with. And I always used to tell people when they ask me about poker and what it's about, I always say that poker is just as much a game against yourself and your own feelings as it is against other players. I think that's particularly true sometimes. You playing on the internet and you're sitting there a couple of hours and get a little bit frustrated. It's very easy to make mistakes, and it's almost always very costly. So you got to make sure that's what differentiates a mediocre player against a really good player. I think a really good player just makes sure that he doesn't give in to such temptations.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more hand. No, we haven't in fact got that. So that's the end of the cash game for the moment.
Yep.
Right, well, that's the 25-cent, 50-cent cash game. Thanks for taking over there.
No
We've
worries.
got a phone call from one of the guys from Bluff Europe. So I think it's Michael Casilli. So let's head over there and see what you have to say. Over to Michael. And we've got Mike Caselli from Bluff Europe magazine. So are you there, Michael?
Here I am.
Hi, Michael. Thanks for coming back to us.
Not a problem.
I've got Johan sitting alongside me. You didn't get a word in edgeways. I sort of took all the spotlight last time from him. So he's going to start off with a few questions for you.
Johan, shoot him at me.
Right, Michael. I just wanted to clarify for our viewers. Bluff magazine is a weekly or a monthly issue?
It's a monthly publication. It's a full glossy. It looks a lot more like a newsstand magazine than most of what you'll find in a card room. This is the kind of thing you'd expect to walk into W.H. Smith and pay £3-4 for. But we're launching it in the UK, and we're giving it away for free for a period of time throughout the card rooms, because we want to make sure that the people that matter, i.e. the poker players, actually get their hands on it first.
Yeah, okay. And in which countries can we expect this to be published?
All over Europe. In fact, you're Swedish, it's going to be in Sweden. And in Sweden is the only country, in fact, that we're actually putting it on the newsstand from issue 1. Sweden's a very developed poker market. And the poker culture there is such that a newsstand title will get huge exposure and huge distribution, whereby in the UK, I think it's not quite at a point of maturity in the poker market where people are buying the magazines off the newsstand. Not quite yet, not in mass. In America, we're selling 250,000 copies of Bluff every month. But I think the largest poker mags over here are nowhere near that just yet.
How long do you think it's going to take to get to that stage?
I think we're about 2 years behind where we are as far as general popularity in the United States. The U.S. seemed to have a 2 or 3 year jump on poker. But incidentally, the first successful televised poker where the whole cards were revealed actually happened here on Poker Night Live. I'm sorry, on Late Night Poker, before it was ever published or programmed in the U.S. So funny enough, the concept started in the UK. It was very popular. It kind of disappeared for a while. The U.S. picked up the ball and ran with it. And then next thing you know, in the United States, poker is the third most watched sport on television.
Incredible, isn't it? So our viewers like to hear the juicy bits, Michael. So what's the gossip on the poker stands these days?
Well, we've got some good stuff. In fact, every issue we've got Jen Leo, and she's out in Las Vegas and in L.A., and she's getting all the best stuff from all the players that everyone wants to know about. So we've got the dirt. I'm just gonna open up to the page and read you some of what we've got. Now, people call Liz Liu the poker diva. She's just set herself up with a new website. She's a professional model. She's absolutely gorgeous. She's a poker player. You could go to the website and you could pick up all sorts of different images, things to use as your desktop, and lots of links, and a really cool blog. And she's also got photos of her partying with a lot of the other poker celebrities. So she's got pictures of her with the Grinder, with Genocide, with Evelyn Ng, loads of others. So she's really hit the scene hard. She's really making her name for herself. And they're calling her the poker diva. Other words around the Vegas scene is something kind of serious. Is Phil Gordon's $1 million bad beat on cancer. And he's leading the charge to raise $1 million in 2006 to fight cancer. And he's got Chris Ferguson, Howard Lederer, Phil Ivey, John Juanda, Doyle Brunson, Negreanu, Lindgren, Seidel, big names behind them. And a lot of these people have agreed to donate 1% of their 2006 winnings to cancer research and Cancer Prevention Foundation.
Well, that's pretty amazing, because I remember they actually did that in the World Series, didn't they, last year? And in fact, just going back to talking about Liz Liu, she made a final table appearance, if I remember correctly, in last year's World Series as well. I'm not sure which event it was. It was one of the earlier events. I think the $1,000 one, if I remember correctly. That's
right. She wasn't on the final table of the main event, but yeah, she did play throughout the series, and she's a great player. She's a very, very serious player in the poker community.
Yeah. Excellent
Besides
stuff.
that, speaking of the WSOP, we've got a $50,000 event coming up this year.
I know, and perhaps we can talk to you about that in our next segment, because we're about running out of time here. But you'll come back to us in about an hour or so, Michael?
Be happy to, my honor.
Excellent. Okay, well, that was Michael Caselli from Bluff Europe magazine. You can usually find it in the majority of casinos. So we're going to be right back in a little while, so don't go too far away. We'll see you shortly. Welcome back to Poker Night Live with myself, Mark Prince Charles Banin, and our special guest tonight is Johan Harum. No, it's not really Johan Harum. It's Johan Eld. I think that joke's wearing a bit thin now,
I
isn't
think
it?
so, yeah.
Yeah, no, Johan Eld, he's our Swedish representative, so you're going to be seeing a lot more of him in the time to come. So it's time for our What's in the Hole reveal, so let's have a look as to what was in the hole. Dun, dun, dun. It was a pair of tens. Wow. So, okay, so let's see, let's recap the action. So there he goes. He makes a raise, gets called by the ace-king. Everyone else folds.
It's a pretty bold bet here. He's hoping that
He's happy
Blow
with...
hasn't got the queen, and
Makes a difference now, does it? Even if he did have a queen, he's now housed up. As long as he's not got... as long as he's not got Queen 10, he's done it. He's pretty good. So there you go. There was what was in the hole. The pair of tens, making the set and then turning into a house on the end.
Yes.
So that was a pretty strong hand, was that?
yeah. And but I gotta say, that wasn't really what I had thought he had. I was probably leaning towards ace queen or something like that.
Yeah,
But-
that was more likely, wasn't it? Okay, excellent. Well, we've got some contact details for you. If you want to get in contact with the show, ask myself or Johan any questions whatsoever. Here's the way to do it. 62211 is a text number. You get 4 messages for £1. You can also email us here at the show, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And don't forget, have your say. A new feature on the show. 0906 200 70 80, 0906 200 70 80, and the best of the selected messages will be played live on air. So we're going to head over to my first tournament, which was rather short-lived. See what you think, how I played. Here we go. First hand, we're off.
It's a pretty good hand to start with, I reckon. It's
Ace 10, yeah, I misplayed. I actually went to raise, but I just called, but never mind.
Yeah. This is terrible. I think you could have stolen the.
I would have done had he
blinds,
not
yeah.
bet, but he bet, and I was thinking for a moment about re-raising, but I thought, well, if I re-raise, it's committing sort of a quarter of my stack at this point, and on a complete bluff with no real draws. So I decided to let that one go.
Yeah.
It was my fault, really. I should have raised pre-flop.
Yeah.
So
This one's a no-brainer, really, isn't it?
yeah, this one's pretty much a
9-4.
no-brainer. Yeah, I think had that ace 10 not have been the first hand, I would have just been a bit more familiar with what's going on. But I sort of rushed into it and I just pressed the call button by mistake. But never mind.
Yeah, I mean,
Would have made much difference. It just would have put me on 30. No one would have called me, so I would have been on 1,030 as opposed to 980. So
Yeah.
I've lost 50 there in essence. So we'll keep a stack of what gets me where. But there's 50 that I've just lost in effect. So I'm 50 down from
pretty
where I
nice
could have
for
been.
Blinkster here with he flopped the set of sixes. And
Yeah, he's looking pretty good there, isn't he? Up against a couple of ace queens who have hit nothing. And he'd come out betting.
yeah, but that's good. I think I would do the same. You don't want to give someone the fourth card for a straight here, and well, you got the flush draw as well, so
Yeah.
I'd be betting out pretty hard on that one. Being satisfied if I could just take what's already in the pot.
Yeah. Well, I've decided to see if I can catch a set of fives on this one, I believe. Did I throw it away? Did I call? I think I called. Oh, no, I folded. Okay. It was a good fold in essence up against a pair of nines. But once again, it was... the problem with it was I was too far away from the button. There were still 5 people behind me. And I didn't know what the others were going to do. So I decided that it's probably best just to fold it at that point. If I was nearer the button in a cut-off or on the button, I probably would have flat called. That way there's less chance of me getting re-raised behind and then just throwing away good money after bad.
No, I think that's a good choice. Would have
Well-
been a complete different game if you'd had called up to yourself instead of a race.
Yeah, well, the problem is if I call, I'm looking really for a 7.5 to 1 shot. And in essence, if I keep calling, there's a good chance I'll lose all my stack before I hit it. So, you know, if I had the pair of fives in the same situation every time, you know, for the next 7 or 8 hands, there's a good chance that, you know, I won't hit my 5. And even if I do hit my 5, there's no guarantee that I'll win with that hand anyway. So this is the hand in question.
8-7, yeah.
Yeah, I put a little raise in here. I thought, let's just see if I can slow down some of the betting, if there was any sort of loose aces there.
And this is just very unfortunate to be up against. You have no idea.
No, he's raised, and I thought, well, I've got position on the guy. Let's have a look what comes down. And that's about finished me off there. I flopped 2 pair, the guy's flopped a set. I was a little bit suspicious that he didn't come out betting. I must admit, I was a little bit suspicious about why he doesn't start, initiate the betting. But I thought, okay, well, we'll give it a go. I put a little beat there. Now, for me, this was really just a bet to get a bit more money out of him, hoping that he would do just that. And he did, but unfortunately, I was well behind. So I was actually hoping that he was going to re-raise me. That was the whole point of that little milky bet. But I thought hopefully he's got ace-king or something like that, but obviously I was miles away. So, all right, boys, you can take it away now. We've seen enough now. Thanks a lot. Yeah. On to the next hand.
I think this is just one of those situations that you can't really protect yourself against. I mean, obviously, you got almost everything you wanted in your 2 pair, and
yeah, I've got about as good a hand as I can get with 7-8. I've hit 2 pair. There's only 1 overcard. There's no straight draws. There's no flush draws. There's nothing on there. There's a good chance the guy's got ace-king. There's a bigger chance that he's got ace-king or something like that. And there we are. So let's have a little, before we carry on with this sit and go, let's have a look at our multi-table update.
Right. Have you got any information for us about how many players are still in the tournament?
You ask the most difficult questions, don't you? Well, there are 27 players still remaining. Sorry, 47 players still remaining on this one. And which are spread out across 6 tables. And I would probably say that 120 is Beer, whatever his name is there, Beer Jamie, is our chip leader with 41,000.
Okay.
Looking at compared to the other stacks, he's well ahead, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the second guy here is
In fact, I've just been told that the big stack is 44,000.
Really? Okay, that's pretty interesting.
Okay, we're just going to hop over to our big stack table, and SG145 is in all different tables, isn't he? He's on the. This time he's actually playing multi-table. We saw him a moment ago, didn't we? Playing the cash game, and here he is enjoying himself on the multi-table tourney and doing fairly well. He's got about 15 times a big blind, a little over, in fact. So he's doing okay. He's not great shape, but not disastrous at this stage. It'd be nice if he can get anywhere. If anyone can get over 20,000 at this stage, and they're going to feel a little bit more comfortable.
Absolutely. And the blinds here are at 400, 800. So if you can get over anything over 20,000, just to say, it's pretty comfortable still. You can still call a couple of sort of doubtful cards and not lose too much for it. And here we've got pair of 10s against pair of 3s. That's just a flop. None of them really wanted to see. Virtus is bets out anyways, and he takes the pot.
He does indeed, yeah. We'll watch this for a couple of hands, a few more hands, and then we'll perhaps head over to... I think we're going to probably just head straight over to the second sit and go that I played in.
These are just 2 players that we've seen a lot of throughout tonight, isn't it? SG and Pokemon. They've been on virtually every table we've been looking at, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Pokemon is obviously in a pretty good situation here with just over 23 grand, and SG has dropped a little bit. He's just over 10,000 now, and he needs to step up if he's going to have a chance here. Right. Virtus is playing a safe game by folding his pocket 2s. see what SG is going to do with his ace jack. He races to 3,200. Let's just see what's going to happen here. And he takes the pot. Now, in a situation like this, it's very easy that people sort of slow plays the king. So he's been racing a couple of times and not really gotten any game from it, but now he did actually play out pretty hard and got called by Luma 666, and looks as if he's gonna lose against 3 of a kind's nines. So SG is finished in the tournament, whereas we get a new player, Doodle or something like that.
Yeah, Luddle. So King 8 for Erijo, who's up against the King Jack. Lucky for him, King didn't appear. He would be in a bit of trouble here. Now Virtus is looking for a 10. That would be a very nice card for him, giving him the straight.
Absolutely, but I think we're going to see a small bet here. Yeah.
Well, it's been checked to him, so that'll be the right move.
And what he might be worrying about is that he's up against an ace, but Erijo didn't think he was in a position to call, and that cost him. Luma is in a very nice position here. He's got almost more than twice the amount of the second player, which is Virtus, and I imagine he's in a very comfortable lead at the moment. The blinds just went up to 500, 1,000, and he's got almost 60 times big blind here. It's a very nice situation.
Yeah, very nice indeed. Got an ace jack here. Now he's wondering, he's seen, and he's decided. Yeah, he's decided that he thinks he's got the best hand, and he's only up against Luddle, who he thinks, what are you limping in there for? I'll just see if it's aces, and he's decided that he'll take a chance that it's not. And sure enough, it wasn't.
Luddle is just continuing getting these pocket pairs as well. We've had a couple of players like that throughout tonight who just gets their pocket pairs all the time, but it's usually in the lower realm, and in a situation like this, it's difficult to play them. And you're only up against one person, and you got to be willing to go all in on them basically pre-flop before you can play them. If you get a race up against you. Right, this is pretty interesting. Twin man just flopped 2 pair, whereas Luma 666 was betting out.
Okay, I think we're just going to take a break from the multi-table tournament. That was a little update there. We're going to no doubt come back to the multi-table tournament straight after, straight when we get onto the final table. So don't worry, you won't miss any of the final table action. Before we head back to my second tournament, we're going to do a quick email. Johan, we've got one from Chris in Los Angeles. And hi, Chris, and if you're listening to the show, welcome. He's saying, great show as always. What do you guys mean when you refer to a value bet? Thanks a lot. Well, Chris, value bet is pretty simple. It's it's generally when you don't have the nuts and you come to the river and you know that you feel pretty comfortable that you've got the best hand. It's not a great hand, but it's not the best hand that's out there. And yet you believe that your opponent has a worse hand than you, that he can still call your bet. That is what we call a value bet. Now, you can either have position on your opponent or be out of position on your opponent, and a value bet works in two different ways. If you're in position, in other words, he's first to act, then basically you're saying that I'm pretty sure you've got a worse hand than me, but I still think you're going to call, so I'll put a little bet in there. And that just increases the pot, so you get a few more chips out of it. If you're in out of position and you want to put a value bet out, not only does it do what I've just mentioned, but it also puts a stop value in there. So just in case your opponent was about to charge you a value bet, perhaps more than what you were about to charge, it also puts a stop factor in there, which means that you, in the end, only get charged the amount that you initially put in because he's perhaps worried about what you might have. So it's a double-edged sword with a value bet. So that's how a value bet works, and I hope that ties it up for you. So that was an email from Chris. I think we're about ready to hit my second sit and go. Let's head over there. Let's hope it lasts a little longer than 3 hands this time.
Well, I think it did, didn't it?
It did indeed, yeah. Well, this is 9-10 suited, but I'm so far behind. I was quite tempted, actually, to call with this, but I've got so many people behind me that I've decided not to. Now, KJ Den, I knew was an aggressive player. He's been raising quite a bit already, and it wasn't really him I was concerned about. It was what was going to come behind me. So I decided just to fold there with a 9-10. If I was on the button, I probably would have called him.
Yeah, and I think you were lucky for it.
Yeah. Well,
although you did.
Yeah, I mean, this would have been an interesting, because everyone's got something there. KJ has got an inside straight draw of 2 overcards. Exest Stream has got a much bigger hand. He's got 2 overcards plus the flush draw, and I would have been there with top pair. So you could have seen all my chips go in the middle there.
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't have been favourite against the ace queen. I would have actually been underdog. Pair against a flush draw and 2 overcards is actually an underdog that draw. Not by much, but by about 45, 55.
But then again, you can tilt that in your favour with a heavy bet as well, can't you?
Yeah, you could do, but he would be right to call. There's very few hands he'd be losing to in that situation. So this last hand was pretty obvious. Simple fold there. Okay, Jeden. A pair of 9s for Exest Stream.
Yeah. And it's a bit surprised that he didn't bet here.
Yeah, I would have thought he'd put a bet out on the turn, but
because that second king just can't have threaten him any more than the first one. So
yeah, absolutely. And the jack was probably irrelevant there, because he would have probably bet out the jack had he have had it. Okay, well, I'm under the gun. Obviously, I'm not playing that. The double top was asking me about 7-8 suited. Sorry, an 8 offsuit. Why I prefer it to 7-8 suited. Well, I only prefer it because it's more hidden than the 7-8 suited, whereas 7-8 suited I can get roped into a flush draw, and subsequently when I make a flush and someone else has got a bigger flush, then I generally have to pay them off. Whereas with something like 7-8 offsuit, there's no flush requirement, so you're not too worried about that. So hence I tend not to play 7-8. So I still will play it in like 7-8 suited. In fact, I'll probably play a little bit more. I'm only tongue in cheek a little bit when I say that.
Right, this is a pretty interesting hand, I reckon.
Yeah. Well, once again, I folded here mainly because I was going to call because of this guy. He's an action player, so I know he's an action player. He could be raising with anything, but my problem was Exest Stream. He was there. I didn't know what he was going to do, and I didn't want to be sandwiched in the middle of these guys. So I really just decided I don't know what Exest Stream's going to do. I'll fold. Had he have not been there, I would have called a bet by that KJ. And taken a flop and see what comes out. Well, this is an interesting hand that develops. Unfortunately, I don't get any action here. I was hoping something came out a little better than this, but it came out pretty good for me, but unfortunately no one else had anything. So I take a bit of a risk here, in as much that I just check. Flop is 7-3-4, which is just as well because no one would have called me with any, had I put a bet out, then everyone would have folded.
Yeah. We had Shedden.
Yeah, now my mistake, so I was just going to say, my mistake here, I believe, is that I could have put in a minimum raise just to build a pot. And that was a bit of a mistake, I feel. So I could have got another 80 out of these guys. I think they would have had to call me for the extra 40 because it's, you know, they're now getting pots to make whatever kind of hand they're trying to make. Kier, as it's pronounced, is obviously got an inside straight draw. And I'm hoping that they'll catch part of this, but no one's caught anything. So unfortunately, I put a little bet out here and no one catches anything, so they just fold. To make it look like a steal, hoping that they caught a king or a jack, but without a king or jack in their hand, they just can't call. So the attempt to make it look like a steal was really falling on dead hands. No one had anything and they couldn't call. And had I put a bet out on the flop or the river, I wouldn't have got, on the turn, you just wouldn't have got anything anyway because they had absolutely nothing. So that's unfortunate there, where I flop a hand and no one catches anything. I gave them a chance. I took a bit of a risk, let them try and catch up, even with a sort of a slightly scary board with a 7-3-4, possible straight draws on there. But no one caught, so that was the end of that. So I don't feel that went for me, unfortunately. You need sometimes one of these hands to pay you off.
Absolutely. This is pretty uncomforting. You really don't want to have the king here.
It doesn't make any difference here because I'm going to see some action before me anyway.
Yeah.
And it's a simple fold for me with bottom pair. One bet, one call. Oh, my bottom pair's not going to be winning here. And it's got very little chance of improvement, so I just throw it away.
Meanwhile, Exastream is sitting on a pretty good hand, I reckon.
Yeah, he's this is a good fold by KJ, I think. If I remember correctly, I think he folds. So that's been a pretty good fold by him. He thought about long and hard, didn't he? And he done well to get away from that one. I think Exastream made it a bit easier for him, putting that big bet in.
Yeah, and that's a very easy mistake to make, you know, like when you've got a hand like that. It's
Sorry, just to interrupt you for a moment. We've got an interesting hand developing here. Obviously, Noxella's raised with a king-jack. I've decided to call now because I'm quite near the button, plus a couple of other limpers have already limped in. So I think there's value in here. You know, if I do hit my set this time, there's a chance maybe someone will catch something that I can, can do something with. Now, the flop comes, if I remember correctly, the flop comes 10 high, and I'm thinking, well, it's not a bad flop for my pair of fives, so I'll put out a bet to try and hope that the others are just on paint cards. So, unfortunately, I've put out a bet, and of course, Kira has got, a huge hand here, top set, and, that's a little bit unfortunate in as much as the way that's worked out, but he's called. Now, I've put a minimum raise here to try, because I didn't think Zitty had enough of a hand. I didn't think he had enough of a hand that he could call a raise with. But of course, I didn't know that Kier was sitting behind me with a huge monster. So I bet
but he's going to be so happy now, thinking.
Yeah. Well, of course, I haven't got a strong hand, but I feel that I can get Zitty off the hand. That was really my thinking, and I just didn't anticipate Kier to have anything. So of course, I'm folding here. I tried to steal it off Zitty, and unfortunately I just found a hand behind me, which has really been the bind of my sit and go tournaments that I've played so far. I always seem to catch someone with a hand behind me. I remember in the first sit and go tournament I went out when the blinds were getting quite high, 160, 320, and I made a move of ace-7 with just 2 or 3 players to act behind me, and someone was sitting there with a pair of 10s, so ace-8, sorry, and someone was sitting there with a pair of 10s, which, I didn't catch my ace, so that was the end of me.
So back to the earlier situation there, that when you've got the monster in the form of a 3 of a kind against an ace, and you don't really have to worry about the third card, it's very easy to get too eager and you raise too much. Whereas I think that you can, by just making smaller bets or raises or even calls, you know that you're going to get all the money you can by the end of the hand anyways, because you don't have to be afraid of even if he hits his 2 pairs.
No, that's right. So it's not really something you have to worry about, is it? Well, look, we can just see Kier here hitting his flush. So he just takes home a nice pot. 8-6 for me is a bit of a no-brainer. Yeah, a bit of a no-brainer there. So throw that one away. Blinds are still nice and low, 10-20. We've seen one player go out, so I've broken my duck of going out first. Played 2 tournaments up to now, gone out first in both of those. Don't think there was much I could do in those situations. The 7-8 call was a dangerous one, but as I was saying earlier, you know, I was playing in a cash game earlier, and the guy raised. He raised from early position, and it was a kind of raise that made me suspicious of a pair of aces. I'm sitting. I can't remember if I'm sitting in the blind. I think I'm sitting in the blinds. I'm sitting in the small blind or big blind. No, I'm sitting in the big blind with 7-8 suited. And no one else has called, so I decide to call, thinking that he's got a big pair, and if I can catch something against him, then I'll make it. So the flop comes out, gives me a pair, and backdoor straight draw, and backdoor flush draw. So he makes a bet at the pot. I still think he's got I'm pretty convinced now by the kind of bet he's put out that he's got a big pair. So I flat call to see what the next card is. If the turn brings out a card that makes either straight or flush draw possibilities, or perhaps hits my second pair, then I know I'm in good shape. It did indeed bring a flush draw possibility. He's now bet the pot again. I'm thinking, okay, I've got a flush draw, I've got a pair. If I can hit my second pair or I can hit my flush, I'm probably going to get all this guy's chips.
Yep.
Sure enough, he bets the pot, I call, I hit my flush, and sure enough he had aces, and I get the remainder of his chips in there, which was quite substantial. So I had huge implied odds, and you know, that was the you know, great thing about it. When it works, it looks great. When it doesn't work, you go out against a set of kings. You know, so that's the unfortunate thing.
Yes, but and sometimes you got to take risks like that. You know, like just try your wings a little bit. And
I was tempted to call here, but you know, calling 60 with 4-5, I don't know what he had, and you know, I'm once again, it's 10% of my stack, so chances I'm going to miss that flop. I will have position on him, but you know, if I'm good, the problem is it's all well and good having position, but if I'm going to use it to bluff, then I'm risking a lot of chips on the bluff. I'm using perhaps a third or more of my stack to, you know, to push on a bluff, which will put me in a very bad situation if it doesn't work. So I've decided just to fold a 4-5. If it was a bit higher, like 6-7 or higher, I probably would have called. But 4-5 was just a little bit too small for me. Well, Queen 8, once again, I feel that Kedgen's at it, but I can't call with Queen 8, so I just throw it away. And of course, we can see he's not at it on this occasion. And Kira's going to flat call.
it's going to be interesting to see how this develops. I haven't seen it, but right. So we've got two players that hit the ace, and double top sitting there and not thinking that his sevens are too good, I suppose.
No, K-Gen is going to bet here, and I think Kira's hoping that he does that so he can re-raise. I think that's the reason he's checked it, and he's now going to put him all in. And he's running cards for a flush, which he's he's not free rolling because the other guy can hit a flush too. Oh, look, there's one of them. And he's putting the remainder of his chips. Oh, and he's hit it on the end, so that was very unlucky there for K-Jeden. Not a lot he can do in that situation. He had, the same hand in effect, and the guy just hit a runner on him. Yeah. So this is an interesting hand because we've got ace-10. Now, I was thinking about going all in, but I thought there's not much point, 640 to win 60, so I just put a bet out here. I was pretty confident I was ahead, but I did think that there was a good chance that that was on a button, that I was going to get re-raised by one of these two guys. Yeah. And in fact, Kira does put a re-raise in, and I'm pretty confident that he sees it as a button still. So I'm convinced that even if he does re-raise me, I'm going to call at this point because I feel that he thinks that I think it's a button. He thinks that it's a button still. Yep. So I'm going to call him on this bet, and especially as it's such a big bet as well, I think he doesn't want me in there. So I've called him, and obviously I see his cards, and we both got the same hand, ace-10. So we just split that pot, and we just split the extra 20 between us or so. So a little bit risky, but I was convinced that he thought I was on a button still, which is why he raised me. I think he might have done the same thing with ace-9.
Yeah, I think that's quite likely as well. Right?
Yeah. So I put out a bet here, I believe. I make it 120 if I remember correctly. And I can't remember exactly what happens here. Let's have a look. Yeah, gets called there by Charles. And it's unfortunate because I seem to keep hitting, running into big hands against me all the time. I don't seem to ever have a free run, which is a little bit frustrating, but not a lot you can do. Double top goes all in at this point. And I think, well, I can't imagine he's doing it at 4, so he must have an 8. And I think that under normal circumstances, my ace would be winning. I would like to see the turn, obviously, see if I get any flush draw possibilities, but I decide to fold at this point. I can't really call, especially as I've got a person behind me as well. I don't know what he's got. So I've decided just to fold at this point. So I don't seem to have made too many wrong decisions up to now, I don't think.
No, let's see what happens now. This the kind of situation, I reckon, that you're getting a little bit nervous. You want to
yeah, I mean, I need some kind of hand, and I think the next hand is what gives it to me. Unfortunately, there's a bigger hand behind me, which always seems to be the case. I always seem to have big hands behind me. I just can't seem to get a situation where I've actually got the bigger hand. You know, and it was a fairly nice hand I had, as you're about to see. Not a great hand, but not a bad hand. You know, short-handed. We're down to 6 players now, so you tend to think that, you know, in most cases when you get one of these, I mean, it's the first time I've had it, you think that it's a pretty decent hand. And ace, and I've got ace-jack, which is pretty nice. And I'm not raising now, because I'm not folding to a re-raise, so I might as well just push it in. If anyone raises, I'm not going to fold this hand, so I decided I might as well just push it in. And if anyone wants to gamble with me because of a worse ace, perhaps, then they can do, or a small pair. And unfortunately, he's got a better hand now. That's a nice flop for me, but not a nice turn. And I've got no diamond in my hand, so it's all over. And I go out in 6th place. So
yeah, not much you can do.
Not really, no. Not with my chip stack, I don't think. You know, I'm not going to fold ace-jack when I've got 540 chips. You know, it's the best hand I've seen so far. I haven't seen a better hand. I've had a pair of 7s. So yeah, that's really about it.
Yeah, I can't see. I can't really see any big flaws in your game. You know, like pretty consistent.
Yeah,
but
yeah, pretty consistent. Yeah. Going out early. Yeah. Thanks, Johan.
What I mean is that, you know, sometimes you just haven't got the cards in your favour.
Yeah, this is a situation where, you know, there's only so many moves you can make. I tried my move with the, you know, I had a set of 7s which against 2 players, and they just didn't improve, basically. You know, I gave them every option to improve. I took a big risk by letting them catch up with 2 cards, which is, you know, pretty risky to do. Especially when there's potential straight draws out there. So I did take a big risk, but it didn't pay off. You know, I didn't lose anything, but I didn't gain anything either. You know, and when I don't take really a risk with the ace-jack, I've got someone sitting there with queen. So you know, there's not really a lot of situations with sit and goes, and especially fast sit and goes like this. You know, you're going to have a pretty big variance. You know, you can go in spells where you'll win 2 or 3, and you can go in spells where you'll go out first in 2 or 3. So it, you know, there's going to be a big variance, and you know, it's going to take a while before that evens out, possibly.
Absolutely, and I think it also helps if you play a lot against the same players, so you know the players you're up against already from the start. I think that's one of the things that really could help you.
I don't think that would have helped me in this occasion, because I don't think there was anything that I did particularly wrong. As I said, the only one thing I could have done is gained an extra 40 with the 7s. I think if I had minimum raised, they both would have called for the extra 40, as it was so small. But that was only 80, you know, that's about, you know, and that's such a fine bit of extra. You know, it's such a fine play in terms of getting something extra. It's, you know, it's not even debatable that you would have got anything extra. One of them with the inside straight draw might have folded, and the other guy had 2 overcards, which he might well have folded, I don't know. So I might not have got anything extra at all anyway. So it's not even, you know, now that I've seen it, I can't say that, you know, I could have got anything extra out of it anyway. So ace-jack, I don't think I could have done anything different there. But it'd be good to hear, if I can hear from some of the guys that are on the table, or some of the observers, in fact. If you can text in to the show or email the show. poker@PokerNightLive is the email. Be interesting to hear, now that you've seen the plays, be interesting to hear your views. Of course, I did lose some chips with the minimum raise.
Yep.
Yeah, when I tried to steal it off him, but the play was right. I think Zitty would have folded to the raise there. I was just unfortunate that Kira had that big, set behind me, which was, once again, I seem to keep running into. I mean, I played 2 hands, and both times I run into a set. So there's not a lot you can do in those situations. You just got to accept that's part of the game.
Right, and do you know who actually wins the tournament?
No, I'm not a good loser, so I don't watch the rest.
Right, we'll see here then.
I think PUFC Boy won the first one that I played in. He's the one that, in fact, knocked me out.
Okay.
So, he won the first one. I'm pretty sure he did. So, well done to PUFC Boy. I think that's his name. And I'm not sure who wins this one, though.
I must say, from having looked, I think Kiar is seems to be the strongest link here in a way.
He's had a couple of good payouts. I mean, he had the ace queen suited, which against the other ace queen, which obviously helped him tremendously. And he had another ace queen as well, didn't he, with the flush draw?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, the ace queen of diamonds. And he made the other guy fold. So he's had a couple of nice hands of both of ace queens. It's worked out quite nicely for him, and if you can make those work, then that's great. Well, he's got his 8-9 now, and he's been re-raised by another 600.
It's a
difficult one. It is difficult. He's getting 2 to 1 his money, and he's just wondering now whether he's got 2 live cards, and he has, and it's worked out interesting. Well, he's got straight draw possibilities and two overcasts to the pair. And but it doesn't come, so Keir on this occasion doesn't win that one. It was a tough call there, really, for Keir, but he had so many chips, he thought, well, even if I lose this, I'm still going to have over 2,200, so I can probably afford to take a call here.
And I think that's probably what I would have done as well. I mean, he had a lot of outs on his 9-8 suited.
He had a lot of outs, yeah. He was actually favourite on that hand. Once, even when the flop came down, he was actually a small favourite. Oh no, he had inside straight draw, wasn't it? Or was it an up and down straight draw?
No, this is an up and down.
Was it up and down?
Yeah, it was 10 jack on.
Was it? Okay, so so he had up and down. So he's probably just a slight favourite in that situation. He's certainly not losing anyway, I don't think, to an up and down with an up and down straight draw and 2 overcasts to the pair. Well, it's out the way. This is looking
costly for Shelby.
Yeah, he's got the ace of spades as well, so that's pretty much finished it. Yeah, once that 9 came down, it was all over.
Yeah.
There was no card in the deck that can do it for Shelley. And unfortunate, you've got ace queen, it's a pretty nice hand, and when you've got someone behind you with a bigger hand, just one of those things.
Yeah, that's just the nature of the game, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, but City, it was just 2 or 3 hands ago on 800-900, and now he's worked his way up to 2,400.
Yeah, he's had a couple of payouts there, hasn't he? We had the one with the pair of 5s, which worked out okay for him, and he just had that one just now with the aces. So, in 2 hands, things can swing around. Well, this is the percentage of pre-flop folds. Exastream has been playing 22%, and 38% for me in the short space of time I was there. And didn't seem like I played that many, but there you are. Must have done. And really just shows us. Doesn't really show us a great deal in that situation. It's only after sort of 20 or so hands, 30 or so hands. But it gives you an idea of what the action's been like so far. Well, I don't think Zitty's... Well, he's in a dangerous situation here, isn't he? He's got ace king suited, and he's wondering whether he should raise or call. I don't think his fold is an option. No, it's not. And I'm surprised he just didn't push it in, to be honest with you. His minimum raise.
But maybe he's got extreme spot on and just want to sort of milk him a little bit, make sure that he actually puts in his money there.
Well, yeah, but how confident can you be with ace king? I mean, if the guy's got a pair, you're actually losing. So, but he seemed to know where he was at, so it worked out pretty nice for Zitty. Good play. We're down to a final
I
four.
think that was pretty strong by Extreme to fold as well. I mean, he could have been up against pair of sevens or something like that as well. So
yeah,
it's pretty strong fold.
It was a good fold. Yeah, I think the fact that it was on the bubble as well probably influenced him somewhat. So yeah, but that was still a good fold. I agree. Good fold there. But he's getting, he's getting probably around 3-1, I think, for his money at that point. So of course, in tournaments, it's all about survival as well as pot odds. So there's down to 4 now. So only 3 of these guys are going to get into the money. This was, should I say, a $2 tournament. So $16 in the prize pool. 8 will go to first, 5 to second, and 3 to third. You know, I think that's the first time I've actually played a $2 sit and go. I don't think I've even played a $5 one before. Apart from on Poker Night Live, that is. But actually, the standard of play was pretty good. I don't think these are usual $2 players. Overall, I thought they played generally pretty well.
Absolutely, and yeah, like I said,
there's no real crunching mistakes, are there?
No, Extrem's fold just now is an example of some really good play. So yeah, I agree with you.
So, interesting situation because there's a couple of players there looking at Extreme and the double top.
Seems to me like the blinds has to come up now pretty soon. To end this game, sort of. It's been sitting on 40-80.
It has for a while, hasn't it? One of the interesting hands I thought in that game was when I raised with the ace-7 and got called by the ace-queen and got called by the 8-9. Had I gone all in at that point, I probably would have. The 8-9 obviously would have folded, but Keir probably with ace-queen would have called me, and assuming that the board didn't repair again at the end, I probably would have gone out on that hand instead. Yeah, so it just shows you how fate sometimes deals you these situations. In that particular example, I escaped by double top. Otherwise, I might have felt, if double top wasn't there, I might have felt compelled to put a bet out. I don't know. Having said that, if I put a bet out, I'm not so sure whether Keir would have called. Might have done, because against 2 players he might have called, but with 3 players he thought, well, the first guy, if he's betting out, he probably has got one of those cards.
And see now, the blinds just went up to an 80 under 60. We've got pair of sevens against an ace queen, and
he's not in good shape here, is he? He needs a 7, and it doesn't come. So Extreme is our 4th place finisher, which unfortunate. I thought he made a good fold earlier with a king jack. Made a play with it, didn't quite work out. But you need things to run your way, and unfortunately it just didn't for him on that occasion. So unlucky for Extreme.
See what Keir can do with his 8s here.
Yeah, well, he's not playing around, is he? He's just decided to bet with it. He's left himself room to escape in case he does get re-raised. I'm not sure he would fold, but now that he's in the money, but he's probably thinking to himself that his 8s are probably good, and he's right.
Right, this is not much we can expect. Perhaps a small raise here and try to steal the big blind. No, he folds his ace-2 actually. That's pretty interesting. It's not really what I would have played that hand. Instead he calls with his pocket 2s on the next hand. Let's see what happens here. Double top's got the bottom pair and a flush draw. Keir hasn't really got anything. And City's got his pair of 2s. At this point, how would you play if you were a CR? I'd probably look at placing a bet there, but pot size before City,
Yeah.
of course, just to try and steal that one. You didn't have any reason to suspect that any one of them had the jacks, and with his king, you could have actually stolen the pot.
Okay, well, we're going to hold this one. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think we're going to take a break from this one just for a moment, as we're going to hold everything, so don't worry, you won't miss any of the action. We've got some emails to get through, so thanks very much for those. And we're going to go to Lee Nash Anubis. So thanks very much for your email, Lee. And he's got a question here. He's saying, "Hi guys, a few months ago during the Xmas holidays, I was going through a good money placings run, which I think was due to being able to play pretty much all day, every day. This then gave me a higher expectation of my own play when entering tourneys. But as all good things do, it came to an abrupt end." There's something very interesting here, which I'll come to in a moment. "I was getting used to playing games every day of the week, but recently I've only played tourneys either every other day or I leave a few days between games. I've noticed that I'm less complacent when I do this. Do you think it's a good thing not to overkill your playing time to make the experience more positive and profitable? Many thanks, Lee." Well, Lee, it's an interesting point you bring up, and you're dead right. It is very simple. We've all gone through that stage whereby I remember when I first started playing tourneys, probably much the same place that you're at now. I did exactly the same situation whereby I was playing tournaments, sit and go tournaments. I was getting placed, fairly often. I was getting some good money out of there. And I thought, well, okay, well, let's just play more. If I'm doing so well, let's just play more. And hopefully, if I play twice as many, I'll get twice as much money. And guess what? Just like you, it does come to an abrupt end. Why? Because you do become complacent and you don't concentrate on the game anymore, and it all becomes very mechanical. So what I would say is do what you've done. Leave a day or two in between. Don't kill it with so many tournaments. Or in fact, just mix it up. Play different types of games. You can overkill your game. If you do play too much, you can become a little complacent in your play, and you don't really do it as enjoyment anymore. You just do it as a bit of a robotic sort of style. So that's a very good point, and that's something to watch out for. You definitely can kill your game in that fashion. So thanks very much for that, Lee. That was a good email. That's from Nash Anubis. And we've got one from Jas. And Jas is saying, "Hi guys, I have a question for you, which I hope you can help. I was recently playing in a 250 no-limit freeze-out tournament at the Gut Shot, and I had 3,000 chips left from a starting stack of 7,000. After 3 hours of play, I got pocket aces and raised 3,000. I was in early position. Okay, one guy went all in with his 4,000, and he was called by the guy to the right of me. So obviously I had to go all in with the remaining chips. The cards went on their backs. I showed aces. Guy number 2 showed nines, and the guy to my right showed ace-king. By now, a few onlookers over the table were there as the dealers dealt 5 cards, basically went 10, 10, 8, 2, 9. So my aces got rivered by 9s. Did I do anything wrong with my play? Would you have played the hand differently if you had aces? I was pretty gutted, getting knocked out despite having the best starting hand. Any advice on this situation would be good." No, you can do nothing wrong. That's the thing, Jas. You can sometimes do nothing wrong and still lose. You did absolutely nothing wrong. You got the guy to put his money in with got all his money in with you, with a very big favourite. Don't question yourself. You did nothing wrong. There's no point trying to think that I could have slow played it. I could have seen a flop. That's not the right thing. If you can get the guy to put all his money in pre-flop, then that's really what you want with aces. So perfect on you. Done nothing wrong. What do you think?
No, yeah, I couldn't do anything but agree. And obviously, there's no question of you folding after that race. I mean, you've got to call that last 125 or whatever it was. So yeah, no, that's just the game. That's how it is sometimes, and let's just hope that he continues to call your races with the pocket aces.
Yeah, there's only one time I think when you would possibly fold a hand like that, and that is if you were in a satellite. There was one place to go before the bubble, the bubble situation. In other words, next one out is the bubble, and if you call, you could be next one out. You've got plenty of chips. You don't need to mess with the chip, the chip leader or second chip leader or anything like that. That might be a time to just throw away aces in that situation, because you're not playing for first. You're playing just to get through one other player getting knocked out. So, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Right, well, we've got our last part of our phone call, and that's with Michael, I believe. So let's head over there and listen to what Michael's got to say, who's reporting from the EPT in Monte Carlo. And we're fortunate enough to have Michael Caselli on the line with us tonight, and this will be his third time. And are you still with us, Michael?
Here I am.
Excellent stuff. So is this technology working well, I see?
Absolutely, and it's me that's honored to be here because actually last week I was on the show, and I've got loads of emails this week for people that want to subscribe to Bluff Europe. So it's working.
Excellent stuff. Brilliant. Okay. I've got Johan in the studio with me, and he's got one or two things he's pinpointed in the last hour or so he'd like to talk to you about. Go, Johan.
Yes,
shoot at me.
Michael. We mentioned the $50,000 world visa earlier, and I was just thinking that maybe you could give us a little bit more information about that.
Well, yeah, some people thought $10,000 was a steep price to pay to enter a poker tournament, but now they've upped the ante to $50,000. Since the World Series exploded, many of the top pros have kind of been missing the days when only the cream of the crop would play at certain poker events. So in order to make sure that the pros are playing against the best people and it's not just a crapshoot and a game of numbers, the WSOP has added a 50,000 buy-in horse event. It's a mixed game format with 5 games: Limit Hold'em, Omaha, Raz 7 stud high and 7 stud high low, being rotated throughout the tournament. So the $50,000 buy-in concept is meant to separate the serious poker players from, you know, the bankers and the guys off Wall Street who come and just try their luck, and who the pros feel kind of floods the field and really makes the series a tournament where the best player might not necessarily win because there's so much competition.
What kind of numbers do you think they're expecting on that?
On the 50,000 event, they
Yeah.
haven't announced anything, but you know what? There's a lot of people out there who will pay 50,000 to play in an event. It would be great to see an event that was mostly dominated by the pros, and horses is a format that's favored by the pros. And hopefully that format, well, if you're a pro, hopefully that format will restrict some people who aren't familiar with some of the less popular games like Raz from coming in and joining that particular tournament. So it might just be down to the guys who are serious poker players, without guys kind of sucking out of them without knowing what they're doing.
I had a little side bet on this tournament because I was discussing it with a couple of poker buddies of mine, and we were all hovering around, they were hovering around the 30, 40, 50 mark, and I said I thought it would be below 30 players, mainly because it's a horse event and obviously because it's a big buy-in event. Any thoughts that you have on how many numbers we're likely to get?
I'll tell you what, I'd take the over, and I think you're going to see more than 100.
Really?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it's a cheap way to get a bracelet. Well, not such a cheap way, but it's a way to get a bracelet.
Well, it's not just a way to get a bracelet; it's a serious challenge. And if you're a guy with serious bucks and you want to get in and prove that you're a good poker player, this is definitely the tournament to do it, because you might not have time to play in the rest of the series, but you definitely come to this event with less people, a tournament that will conclude more quickly, and show that you have the stuff that makes it.
And the interesting thing is, of course, is that it's going to take sit and goes to a whole different level, isn't it? 5,000 sit down for a sit and go.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. You know, another thing I wanted to bring up is that it's an advertiser. I'd like to plug it with your permission. I don't have anything to do with it, but I just thought it was a neat product. Somebody sent one to me the other day. It's a dealer button, and it's got a timer built into it. I thought this product was like a paperclip. It's the simplest thing in the world, but it times your game. So essentially, whoever the dealer is gets a little beep when it's time to change the stakes, and essentially it helps him determine when the blinds are ready to go. It's just the simplest thing I've ever seen, but what a great idea.
Well, you say that, but I think the real good idea is going to come when it tells you how to play jacks under the gun.
Yeah,
And that's going to be...
I think we'll have to write into the manufacturer.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's where the innovation is going to come. It has a little computer program in there telling you what to do with ace jack under the gun and a pair of jacks under the gun.
That could be the case.
Excellent. Do you tend to play a lot mostly these days, Michael, or is it mainly writing these days?
I'll tell you something. There's journalist tournaments going on. It seems like every week. So I've been playing in these journalist tournaments now for the last year and a half, and they seem to be so frequent that every time you turn around, you're sitting down at a table somewhere with a bunch of people who have written books and, you know, all your poker idols. It's a really, really cool thing to do.
Right, well, I'm going to have to wrap it up there, Michael. Thanks very much for joining us this evening and over the course of the morning. It's been great having you on, and hopefully we'll talk to you in the near future.
Great. You guys have a great show.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Michael. That was
Thank
Michael
you.
Caselli from Bluff Europe, so get your copy and it'll be on the stands in the next few days or so. Thanks very much, and we'll be back after this. Welcome back to the last leg of Poker Night Live. Well, it's the last leg for tonight anyway. You're watching Poker Night Live with myself, Mark Prince Charles Banin, and Johan Eld. Now, before the break, we were watching, and before the conversation, in fact, with Michael, we were watching a sit and go which I played in. There are still 3 players still in that, so we'll come back to that shortly. However, let me give you some contact details for the last hour. You can contact the show, let us know your thoughts on what you've seen so far and what you'd like to know. Text number 62211, there it is on your screen. You can also email the show poker@pokernightlive.co.uk, and why not have your say? 0906 200 70 80. There it is on your screen. 0906 200 70 80. And that's exactly what someone has done during the break. So I think if our guys in the back can patch it through, we'll hear what our viewer has to say. Are you there, viewer?
Hi there. This is Kenneth Brays from Milford-on-Sea. A new caller. Love the show, by the way. I've just got a question. I'm about to start a series of home games on my estate with some of the chaps, and I'm interested in possibly a blind structure and how many chips to start with. Anything like that sort of information would be absolutely chippo. Yes, like I say, great show, love it. I'm going to be watching from now on, I think. It's absolutely top banana. Lovely stuff.
Okay, well, top banana. Well, there you are. The show's top banana.
Right,
I bet
that's
an expression you Swedes haven't heard before.
That's true, yeah.
Okay. Well, what can I tell you? Chip structures, and quite a nice little pun there from Kenneth as well. Chippo, he said.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, Chippo. Anyway, so Kenneth, a little bit hard to tell you actually what blind structure to choose for your home games. There's a lack of information. Generally speaking, a nice simple structure. You've got to choose on how long you want to play and how many people are playing in it. What I would suggest is why don't you start off with something like a 20-minute blind level. So you've got 20 minutes to go for each blind structure. Start off with something like 25-50 blinds, and start off with something in a region of about 3,000 to 4,000 chips, and see how long that takes. And if there's about 6 people, that should be a nice sort of structure to start off with. It'll probably last a couple of hours, and that's probably good enough for a decent home game. That way you don't get too many people waiting around once they've got napped out for too long a period. So have a go at that and see how that one works out. What about you got any extra bits to add into that?
Oh well, I think it depends a little bit if he's going to play a tournament or a cash game.
Yeah,
he didn't really say, but yeah, I think about around maybe 30 times big blind is good to start with if you're going to play a tournament. Perhaps a little bit more than that if you're playing a cash game. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think what you should do if you're playing cash games is just trying to find a level that everyone's comfortable with, really. I think that's sort of a key if you're playing a home game. Everyone should be comfortable with playing with that amount of money, but not too small, because then you won't have a serious game. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, as our friend Kenneth would say, Johan, top banana. Okay, let's head over to the sit and go they were watching a moment ago. We're three-handed, I believe. Oh, he sounded a bit posh, didn't he, Kenneth?
Well, if he would invite me to his estate, I'm sure I'd pop over.
So we've got 3 players left. All these guys are in the money. $3 goes to third, 5 to second, and 8 to first, I believe. I think that's the structure. I think that's how it gets broken down. I'm sure it's usually 50%, 30%, 20%. I don't think it actually breaks it down into cents, though. I might be wrong, of course.
Right, and
look at that, something for everyone. And set of 8s in the lead, and the club doesn't come, which means we have a double up for Keir, who's in a very strong position now, and double top, who's in desperate stakes now. And he's elected to go with the Jack-4. I don't blame him. It's about as good a hand as any that he could hope for. He's not in good shape, though, because 2 of those 4s are gone. And they're both calling in. They're probably just going to check it down and hope that one of them between them can knock the other. That'll be the right move, unless you've... Oh, that's a strange play there. And Zitty's not going to be happy when he sees this. He's thinking, why are you betting when there's no... Well, is there a side pot? I'm not sure there is. There must be a side pot, yeah. Well, he's betting to win the side pot, and he's just let double top straight back in there. Kings and twos with a jack. So Kira wins the side pot, and Zitty's not going to be happy with him, I don't think, with that one. But it doesn't make any difference now because he's got the kings, and double top's going to need a bit of a miracle to escape this, especially as one of those nines has gone. So he's looking really for a straight here. He needs a 10 jack queen to appear, and he's missed all of them. Or he could, well, and that's definitely all over now. There's no card in the pack can save him. So we've got our third place finisher and double top. So battle of Keir and Zitty, both played good games here, I thought.
And they're pretty even when it comes to chips as well, not too much differing. So it's really the best heads-up player that's going to take this home, I think.
Yeah, the blinds are still fairly low in comparison to the chips, so yeah, they've still got lots of play here. Don't forget to text us in any info that you'd like to talk about, or in fact email the show, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. We've got about 45 minutes of this show remaining, so be nice to hear from all our regular viewers. They might want to talk about the games that I played in, things that they might have liked to have done differently, liked to have seen me do differently, or perhaps a nice bit of sympathy wouldn't go amiss either. You know, us presenters can be sensitive types.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, our whole professionality really depends on these beat the present tournaments.
Absolutely.
It's nice to see when it goes your way once in a while as well.
So Zitty with the 6-7, and Keir with he's playing an aggressive heads-up game.
Yeah, no, I think that's what you have to do, really. I mean, he's trying to steal blinds when he gets the chance, and...
oh, strong play here by Zitty.
Yep,
he thinks that he hasn't got much of it, and well, that's a good re-raise there by Zitty. Nicely played there.
Very good. He didn't think that Kiara had too much of a hand either, so he decided to take a chance. And
yeah. And he's doing it again. He's pushing him around a little bit, and Keir couldn't really call there. Now Zitty's taken a slight advantage, and I'm sure he won't be giving this up. Now, we could see all the chips go in here, because I think Keir's going to get fed up of getting re-raised, and Zitty is not going to be calling here, he's going to be re-raising.
Yeah,
so
sure.
We're going to see. Now, Keir is wondering if he should call with his Queen 8. He doesn't know that he's actually only 50-50, but because he's got so many chips left, he might just give it up. He might just give it up, but I dare say Zitty won't be able to do it again, because there's only so many of those that Keir is going to accept. Well, let's see. He decides not to do it on that occasion, and Keir couldn't have called him with a jack rag there, but that's a pretty good hand to call him with, and he's probably going to put in a raise here, hoping that Zitty comes over the top. And of course, Zitty probably just won't on this occasion.
Yeah, and I think Zitty realised that he just couldn't get away with another re-raise there.
Yeah.
So,
I think we might see it here, though. I've got a strong feeling we're going to see it here, because the Queen 8 suited always looks a lot more attractive than it really is.
Yep.
But Keir has got a lot of chips, and he won't want to perhaps throw it all down with a Queen 8. Doesn't want to be the caller, because of course even re-raising there, he knows that Zitty can't fold for the extra, so it's not even a re-raise. And Zitty stopped him in his tracks from doing this double the blind thing, so by re-raising him on one occasion. So now he's not too comfortable about doing it in case he gets re-raised again.
And I think it's safe to say that Zitty have taken the lead here.
Yeah, he's become the aggressor, hasn't he?
And he's changed the stacks around as well. Keir had a slight lead earlier, but now Zitty is sitting on the money, really.
Yeah, and I quite like this play here by Keir. He's leaving nothing to chance. If he wants to come over the top, then he can't. He can only call. Well, he has elected to call. That's quite an interesting call there. And he's in the lead. Well, he wins it.
Yeah.
Incredible. That's a very strong call there from Zitty with a Queen 10. Felt that it was on the steal, and sure enough, he was. Well, there you go. So congratulations to Zitty. Played a good game, as did Kier. I thought they both played very good games. So well done, guys. And let's head over to our emails. And this is from Frank. And Frank is asking, Johan said nobody remembers their best wins. Just their bad beats. But I do remember my best win, like it was yesterday. It wasn't quite yesterday, it was early this morning, in fact. The site that I play on ran a multi-table and put on 2 extra grand into the prize pot. Very nice indeed when that happens. At the same time, the normal Poker Night Live multi-table, at the same time as a normal Poker Night Live multi-table tourney, the one I played with the extra cash had 64 entrants compared to the usual 250, 300. I played a mixture of tight aggressive and accidental, hit caller a couple of times instead of fold, but I lucked out on both. To cut a long story short, I made my first ever final table on a multi-table tourney, and then one thing led to another. Before I knew it, I was heads up, took a slight lead, and to my total surprise, won the heads up confrontation. I won the tournament, pocketing close to $800 for a $10 stake. So that's pretty nice, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very nice indeed. So I presume it was a rebuy because otherwise, if there's only 64 entrants, it couldn't have been nowhere near $800. So it must have been a rebuy tournament. So congratulations on that one, Frank. And I think also what Johan probably meant was that no one remembers their good card wins, hand wins, as opposed to overall wins. I think we all remember our overall wins. You know, I remember, all my decent wins that I've had. There's not many that I forget unless there's smaller ones. No, but anything over 2,000 sort of dollars or pounds or whatever, I've generally remembered winning and the style that I won it in. But they can be pretty good fun. I remember, in fact, some of the most memorable ones are my satellite wins.
Right.
Yeah, I remember my satellite win for the World Series this year and the one the year before. They were both pretty good. So. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. We do remember, don't we, sometimes?
Oh, yeah, I think especially when it comes to tournaments or a whole night, of course, we remember the nights when we come out on top and make a very nice stack of money at the end of the night. What I meant was more the individual hands yeah. when you get lucky or yeah. whatever, or you get your 4 of a kind or something like that. Usually that tends to fall out of your mind after a couple of weeks, whereas yeah. Those really bad beats tends to stay with you, and that's usually what you hear around poker tables in casinos and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We do tend to forget those. Well, we've got a couple of emails to do. Have we got time for those? Yeah, I think we have. And this one is from PUFC Boy, who was in the first game that I played in, and I think he went on to win it. And he's saying, let's have a look. Great show. Shame the glamour is missing tonight, but I am here. I'm here, PUFC Boy. I know Johan isn't sort of up to the normal standard, but I'm
not being British and all means.
A question, post flop for you for your tourney on the 5th hand. Should you risk it all on 2 pair, especially as you do not know the player? Never mind. All the best. I personally will. I won't be I'm not going to be folding 2 pair. I'm afraid to say, especially as there is. It's very unlikely that you could have a better hand than me. There's not a chance of you having King 7 or King 8. That's very unlikely. So I suppose really the only thing you could be winning with is a pair of kings. Let's face it, you're not going to be winning with aces. You're not going to be winning with queens. So if you happen to have hit the one hand that can beat me, i.e. kings, there is a small chance, of course, you could have a set of 7s or a set of 8s. But as I've got one of those of each, it's less likely. So, but basically, if I hit 2 pair on a flop like that, my money's going in, I'm not folding that hand, and if so be it, if that's what happens, that's what happens. In a multi-table tourney, when there's a lot more play, then that might be a different story. I might reconsider, but even then it's going to be very, very hard. I don't think there's many players that would fold that kind of hand. But thanks very much for your email, PUFC Boy, always good to hear. Would you have folded that? I wonder.
I gotta say, Mark, that I would support your play there. I'd probably do the same. 9 times out of 10, at least.
Yeah, I don't think there's many players that would have folded that hand. In that situation, if the guy's got a set of kings, he's got a set of kings. I don't think you're going to fold to a re-raise. But that's the way it goes sometimes. I think the initial mistake on that particular hand, Johan, was really on the pre-flop. It was debatable whether I should have called with a 7-8. That was really the thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, but anyway, we've got an email from Exastream, and he's saying, "Hi guys." And he's saying, just watching the replay there. And first off, thank you for your comments about some of my play. Although the King Jack I folded from the re-raise was a bad raise for me to begin with, Well, I must say, I first want to cut in there because I don't think necessarily raising with any particular hand is a bad raise.
No.
Because at the end of the day, you're there to try and win pots, and the only way you're going to do that is by raising. Now, if you happen to walk into a bigger hand, then that's the nature of the game, isn't it? So I don't think initially raising. I think it's much worse when you make a call with these type of hands. They can be potentially bad calls, and this is what I did to a certain degree. So, I was only going to play 7-8 if I'd hit a big flop. Had I had just top pair and the guy's re-raising me, then I probably would have thrown it away. But the fact I'd hit 2 pairs, I wasn't going to throw it away. And I don't think necessarily the initial thing with the King Jack was that bad. But anyway, I folded from the re-raise, although I folded from the re-raise was a bad raise for me to begin with. I think I should have raised 240 instead of 640. A bit of an overbet there. Yeah, that I do agree with. That I do agree with you. Now, this is my first time today playing real money. My question is, from a tourney earlier, I was in early to middle position with pocket, with ace-king suited. The blinds were 20-40, and 2 players behind me raised about 7 times the big blind. Now, I went all in, and I got caught out with pocket aces. Should I have folded the hand to begin with? The players that raised were playing pretty loose. Great show, guys. Personally, I would, yeah. If there's been a raise and a re-raise, I'm not quite sure how the hand went, but if there's been a raise and a re-raise, then I typically will fold ace-king in that situation. I might sometimes call, depends, if I get a feel that the guy's got aces, obviously, then I'm obviously going to be looking to fold. Depends on what kind of player it is. That's quite important. If it's a loosest sort of player, then I'm likely to call. I'm looking for an ace or king on a flop. If nothing comes, then I'll just dump it. Sometimes, though, you can walk into pocket aces and you hit a king on the flop and then you're done anyway. So at least you're going to be done with something as opposed to getting done with nothing. Certainly, you don't call all in. It's not a hand I want to put all my money in the early part of the tournament, for the simple reason that I've got no hand. That's really what it boils down to. It's a very nice hand, but it's no hand nonetheless. And I don't really want to go out on a no hand basis. It's bad enough going out with a pair or a 2 pair in my case, but not to go out with no hand is not really a good reason to go out unless you've got a lot of chips in the pot, or unless you're short stacked.
Yeah, and again, I think this is one of those situations where the difference between tournament play and cash game is quite different. With 2 players, even with a 7 times big blind raise, I'd probably call with a suited ace-king, just because it's a very strong hand in a cash game. In a tournament where this bet constitutes a large part of your stack, I'd be more hesitant.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, well, thanks very much for that, Johan, and thanks very much for your email exast stream. And today was your first one, so good to hear from you. And hopefully we'll hear from you more in the future. Let's head over to our multi-table tournament. And we're coming in, I believe, on a pretty big hand. Oh, look at that. He's flopped the house. How nice is that? 400 to 1, I believe it is, to flop a house. Oh, no, it's not. That's quads. That's not a house. It's about 3. I'm trying to think what the odds are on that.
No, I think you're right with 400. The flopping quads is 1 to 4,000, I think.
Ah.
So,
well, his house has improved to 7s full of 6s as opposed to 6s full of 7s. Yeah, I'm just trying to think what it is. I'll have a little check.
I'm pretty sure that getting a 4 of a kind on your first 5 cards is around 4,004 or 1 to 4,004, something like that. But we'll let the computer decide and come back to it. Meanwhile, we'll have a look a little bit at what's the game here. We've got Ace Queen Diamonds against Ace 6. Ace 6 is betting out on after the flop. See if he can scare X-Bone out. And he did. And that's another one of those situations that we've been discussing a little bit, going back to last Friday. If you have 2 overcards, should you call sort of medium-sized bets after the flop? I'd probably lean a little bit more towards X-Bone's behavior, actually folding this one, although he was likely to be a favorite. Playing it safe, he didn't have to he can pick his fights.
He can pick his spot at the better place, can't he? He's got no hand at the end of the day, so he's got no pair. So yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. Just to let you know, it is actually quads. Pocket pair to hitting quads on the flop is 407 to 1. If you've got if it's a non-pocket pair, then it's a little over 1,000 to 1.
Right.
So just to give you an idea on that. So to hit a full house with a non-pocket pair is 1,000 to 1. So not much chance of that happening, really.
But I'm quite sure still that if you play sort of the old-fashioned 5-card stud, the odds of getting a 4 of a kind on your first 5 cards is approximately 1 to 4,000.
That I have no idea. Yeah, stud I have no idea. Yeah, 5 cards. Unfortunately, I'm just a Hold'em man. Well, a Hold'em man Omaha and Badoogie nowadays.
No, and I think that while we're speaking stats here, getting a royal flush on 5 cards is roughly 1 to 647,000 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. That's right. Do you know what it is in Hold'em?
Oh, tell me.
Just under 20,000 to 1.
Okay, still pretty bad. You know, my experience as a dealer, or in the casino where I used to deal, I actually dealt a royal flush on the table once. It's pretty interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
On the board?
Yeah.
Wow. I remember there was a competition going on I'm not sure if it was last year or the year before, the World Series. They had a competition on Poker Zone, actually, on one of the shows. And they were asking, they actually said, one of the questions was, what are the chances that this was really, the dealers had been dealt, 2 specific dealers had spent all day or 2 days dealing hands. And they said to them, what's the chances of these dealers dealing a straight flush to one of the players? And anyway, cut long story short, they went to both dealers. They've been doing it all day for the last 2 days. Have you dealt a straight flush yet? No. So in 2 days, to all those hands they've played, they hadn't dealt one straight flush.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a very rare hand. Even if you don't, if you stretch out to any straight flush, really. And obviously the royal flush is incredibly rare. But it happens,
Yeah.
And
actually, it's not that rare compared to a straight flush in comparison. I mean, it is still a lot more, but it's 10,000 to 1 as opposed to 20,000 to 1 in effect.
Yeah.
So it's still pretty rare, but it's you would have thought a straight flush was going to be that much easier.
No, it isn't. Yeah. I mean, but at the end of the day, the royal flush is just 1 out of 10 straight flushes, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really no difference there. It's just the highest straight flush. Anyways, let's see what's going on here. Costello bets out with the pocket 10s. Gets raised by Cream Cage.
Oh, we had an escape there.
Yep. No, I think he was pretty lucky.
Yeah. Now that could have changed everything for Costello there.
Absolutely. And again, that's just part of the game. I think he was completely right playing his 10s strongly there. He doesn't want to give his opponent a chance to buy in 2 more cards, so he betted strong and just got to erase, and that's something that happens. And by that time, he was just too committed to the pot to fold, especially since he had an overpair. So, yeah.
Well,
not much you can do about it.
No, not at all. Just to give you some updates on where some of these guys finished, you're probably wondering, well, we saw a couple of players there. If you remember, there was Poke Malk, who was in there. He finished in 10th place with $43.37. And there was also Erijo, who finished in 11th with $31.23. Who else was there? There was in 8th place, so we just saw go out, was Virtus, $86.75, and he was the last player out. So next player to go out gets 121, and goes all the way up to first place, which is 954. So whoever gets that is going to be in pretty good shape. Not bad for a $10 return, eh?
Absolutely not.
95 times your return, that's pretty good. Let's see how this is going to play out.
none of the players really have anything, but oh, that's incredibly good by Cream Cage, I reckon. Despite the bet from Ryden too, he made a pretty strong re-raise, and he took the pot with his pocket pairs of threes.
Yeah, he's got the chips to do it, hasn't he? Well, he's the problem is when you keep on doing it like he's doing it, eventually you're going to walk into something. That's the only thing. So it'll be interesting to see whether he continues this aggressive play. He's on the button here. He might feel he has to. No, and he would have got it there as well. He would have picked up an extra 9,000. Didn't really have the hand to do it with, but that's the thing. When you're on the button, you don't really need a hand. In fact, it's better to do it sometimes with the likes of 7-4. That way, if anyone raises you, there's no dilemma. You know just to get rid of it. Whereas you do it with something like Ace-7 or something, you think, oh, shall I call? Shall I throw it away? You know. So with 7-4, there's no dilemma, is it? It's a simple chuck away.
That's always the
Well,
worst.
look at this here. He's re-raised him with 8-2. And the other guy had Jack-Queen. I'm surprised he threw it away. Well, Lucille, fairly tight by the looks of it. He's fairly short stacked at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see. He's got to probably look for a double-up opportunity. He's got to try and get some chips.
Yes. This is going to be an interesting hand. I think that the most aggressive player will be the one taking this one as well.
Well, X-Bone is in that position, isn't he, to take this one. And he makes a little steal there, and Master Willie gets out of the way.
Yeah, but at the same time, we just saw Master Will making a re-race with an 8-2 as well. So
Yeah, he's capable of doing it, isn't he? That's for sure. Well, interesting. Lucille has just decided to flat call. Interesting policy, and that's a pretty good flop for...
Same thing with X-Bone, with the King and Queen. I'd probably make a small raise there as well. Just wouldn't want to give the big blind a reason to come along without having to put in a little bit of extra money. So.
Yeah, I think so, because, imagine how he'd feel if he had a 2 there or a 5. He would have been gutted, wouldn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
So, no, I tend to agree with you. Well, pair of 6s for Ride-In. I'm sure he put out a bet here. Yes, he has. He's put out a bet of 6,000. It's been called with the Ace-Jack. And I would have liked to see a slightly bigger bet from Ride-In now, just to say, look, I am strong, stronger than you. And he must feel pretty confident about his King-6. Cream Cage was waiting to hit. And he paid him on the end, anyway. He thought, well,
that was generally stupid, I think. Sorry, Cream Cage. I think in a situation like that, when you really haven't got anything, you should erase or fold, really.
Yeah. When you haven't got anything, that's absolutely right. You should be, perhaps give it a raise, see if the other guy's on the still, see if you can take it off him. And if it doesn't work, then just fold it when next time round. He was hoping really to catch his ace or jack. The problem being is if the guy's got a jack or an ace in his hand, that card can make him 2-pair while it makes him top pair. And of course, that means he's drawing very thin. So it's very dangerous to call in that situation. No, I agree with you on that. Well, it's a pretty good flop for Lucille. And Master Willie doesn't believe it. And there's a good example of a value bet there put in by Lucille. He was pretty confident that his 10-jack was winning, and he was right.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. We've got Costello with
well, we just
tens.
we just saw Chelsea go out in 7th with $121. So we're down to 6 players now.
And this is the second time that Costello loses with his pocket tens.
Yeah, and both times he had
aces on ribbon. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
terrible.
nasty, wasn't it? Well, Costello did nothing wrong there, and sometimes it's just not meant to be. Well, Costello goes out in 6th. He's got $156, and I thought he played a pretty good game, what we saw. So 5 places still to go. $208 is next one out.
I think the Master Ruler was pretty lucky. He got away cheap from that one. He got his 5, which is what he wanted, and X-Bone had the pair of 5s with a better kicker as well. And
yeah.
But he let him off the hook quite cheaply anyways.
Well, top pair for Ride-In. He bets out, and Lucille hasn't got any part of that. Folds. Well, ace king there on the small blind. It'll be interesting to see how he plays this. Is he going to raise it up? And he does. He makes it another 50, he makes it 215,000, and Cream Cage doesn't have any part. Just going to fold that. So he picks up an extra 6,000 there. Plus saves himself the small blind as well.
And again, we've got a situation where we've got ace king against virtually nothing really on the other players. So
No, it's not virtually nothing. It's 7-8 offsuit. Don't say it's virtually nothing.
yes, Cream Cage didn't think it was good
well, you
enough
see,
to call.
Master Willie's tried the same routine again. This time, Lucille has got a hand. And he's lost a few chips on that one. It's not a fortune, about 18,000 I think he lost. Well, 7-5 for ride in. I'm sure he'll probably fold this. What's Cream Cage going to do is the question. I'm sure he's going to put a bet here. This is the kind of hand that can get you in trouble. I mean, it's okay because no one's got anything, but it can get you in trouble because you raise, and if you get re-raised, you feel almost obliged to call, don't you? And Queen 10, let's face it, isn't a big hand.
Absolutely.
Well, we've got all sorts of hands here. An ace, a 10-jack, and a king-queen. Well, he's called, and I'm sure he likes that queen appearing.
And he probably likes that bet even better.
Oh, that looks even nicer. That looks gorgeous for him now. He's loving it.
But I think Master Willie got a bit worried about that. So,
oh, look at that. He's housed up, and he thinks that he's actually bigger than he is. He doesn't realise how weak the guy is. He was hoping to think, well, maybe you've got a king, or maybe you've got a queen, and you were going to pay me off. But little did he know that the guy had absolutely nothing.
yeah, I think Ryden could have come out with more money there if the kings hadn't come. So, because
I think you're right.
Obviously that's going to scare Master Willie.
Yeah. It was difficult for Ryden to realise that the guy had absolutely nothing, which is why he put that 48,000 bet in there. There's no reason why Ryden would only put a smaller bet out, because he thinks, well, okay, well, the guy must have a queen. And now he thinks, because he's got a queen, he thinks, well, in that case, you know, you'll call this bet from me. Of course, he had absolutely nothing. He couldn't call. Well, I'm sure you're going to see a little bet out here.
Yeah.
He makes it 12.
I think that's pretty good. If you want to steal the blind,
Yeah, I'd like to make it a little bit bigger.
Maybe 16, something like that?
Yeah, I think I want to get him to commit some chips to this pot. And look what's happened here. You see, he's got top pair now. And
he calls
calling.
down.
Well, he's got an up and down straight draw. He's got a flush draw as well now. And now he has to call. And yeah, you see, this is all born out of the fact that he didn't raise more pre-flop. Had he raised more pre-flop, I think we probably would have got rid of Lucille, who we seem to be a fairly tightish player.
Yeah, and you're probably right here, actually.
Yeah, I think I would have liked to have made it 16. I think double, at this stage, double is just a bit too small, especially for his chip stack. You know, if he had only 70,000 in chips and maybe 12 is right. But even then, you know, because he was thinking to himself, I don't want to commit too many chips to this pot. But he had over, what, 130, 140,000 or something. I think he could have made it 16 or even 18.
And he paid dearly for his mistake as well.
He did. He lost a lot of money in that, yeah, absolutely.
That's the problem with too weak a bet, I reckon, is that you can actually get a call from an ace-6 and stuff like that. Which is...
well, look what we've got here. We've got the bullets. Now, I don't mind the raising it 6 here. Now, this is okay to raise 6 because you want action. But you certainly don't want it, do it with a pair of 3s. Well, you definitely don't want the action, if you can help it. Well, King Queen rears its head again, and Cream Cage, she's in early position, and he decides to throw away the ace-10. I don't really blame him, but I suppose when it's short-handed, probably a raise is okay. I think when you get to 5 players, you have to you know, take a little bit of a risk with a hand like that.
I'd probably I'd have a look at the flop there. The bet wasn't out of the ordinary, and he's got the stack for it, so I'd probably have a look there.
Yeah, and he could have easily, if he wanted to, I'm not saying it's the greatest play, but he could have limped in, unless someone else has got anything whatsoever, they can't really call. And he could probably nick it on the flop when the blind has missed it. So that was another way of playing that particular hand. Well, X-Bone shoves up a little. Still 5 players left. As I said, the 5th player will go out, will get $208, and 4th will get $277. So not a great difference between the two, which suggests that really they should be putting more effort into building chips here, I think. Whether you get 208 or 277, there's not a lot of difference, especially when top prize is 954. So it's a good opportunity, I think, to actually try and build your chip stack in order to try and aim for that top prize.
Absolutely.
Well, Lucille has got a nice little hand here. 161.
Sorry?
Lucille got 161 in terms of chips. Yeah, 160, just under 162.
Yeah, and the second is X-Bone on 109, and last player is Master Wooly on 54.
Yeah, he's been leaking a lot of chips, hasn't he? That's the problem. He's been leaking a lot of chips.
But I think he's been taking a couple of risks, trying to steal blinds and stuff like that, and so trying to build his stack really. And sometimes it pays off, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, I think you can sometimes do it. I like the idea of doing it. I just think that the risk should be a little bit more calculated. I mean, this is a sort of a better risk that I don't mind. Raising with the ace-4 suited or ace-7 suited, whichever it was. It's just there are certain risks that I think he's he's taking too much. Like this one, for example, King 2. What's he going to make there? He's only aiming to hit one card. And look, he's walked into a straight. So this is, he's probably going to go out here, I think. The guy's probably going to flat call with a flop like that. I'm sure he's not going to raise because that will scare Lucille off.
No, he does raise. He was a little bit worried about the flush, I suppose.
Yeah, I think against 2 people, you've got to take. That's going to be the risk on your part, isn't it? And he's definitely going out now, isn't he? Yeah, that's just improved his hand. He's going to raise. He goes all in. He calls, and we have our 5th place finisher. Master Willie, $208. Yeah, and really, when you look at it, he went out with King 2 under the gun. It's not really a hand I would want to get involved with. It's unlucky the way it turned out, in as much that he hit trips at the end, but I don't think he should have been in there in the first place. Not with a hand like that.
No, you're probably right. Although I gotta say, this one of those hands, a king with a low card suited is a hand you play a lot when you're not that experienced. I did the same thing.
Yeah, people tend to play
6 months or so. I like to play those King 4, King 5, King 6 suited as.
Well, a lot of people do play. A lot of players do play suited cards, don't they? But what they don't realise that chance of flopping a flush is 118 to 1. So it's going to cost you a lot of money. And see, this is the thing about flushes. Calling with Queen high, Jack high, 10 high flushes is dangerous. One, because you haven't got the nut flush at the end of the day, so you might hit your flush and still lose. That's one thing. The second thing is it's 118 to 1 to actually hit your flush. And the third thing is, that even if, or fourth things in fact, the third thing is that even if you do hit your flush, there's no guarantee you get paid because a flush is very identifiable on the board. You can see there's 3 hearts on there, and when you start to get excited by re-raising, you're thinking, well, hold on a sec, this guy might, could well have it. Yeah. So it's a very obvious hand for people out there. And the other thing is the fourth reason why, perhaps it's not such a good thing to do, is because you're 8 to 1 to actually flop a 4 flush, which means that you're going to have to put more money in on the flop, more money in on the turn in order to try. And guess what? You're 2 to 1 against to actually hit it, which means you're going to throw a lot of money chasing something that you're not going to hit in a lot of cases. Absolutely. And probably won't get paid even when you do hit. So I'm not mad over sort of smaller flushes, and for the simple reason that if that's all you've got to aim for, then generally don't.
Absolutely, I think you want to have at least a straight possibility as well. Sort of, even if it's not 2 connected cards, you still want a 7-9 or something like that at least, so that you've got some coverage.
I think so, yeah. And the thing to remember is that at the end of the day, having suited connectors can give you straight draws as well. So that's important. Let's head over back to our multi-table tournament. Now, we wanted to make sure that we show you the rest of the table as it finishes. So we've gone forward a little to our last 3, just to give you It's pretty obvious by now. Creamed Cage finished in 4th place, hitting his $277, collecting that. So well played to Creamed Cage for getting 4th. Not an easy thing to do, getting 4th in a 347-player tournament.
No,
so,
that's pretty commendable, isn't it?
You've got to appreciate that that's not an easy thing to do, and hence well played. Now, we're down to the last 3. We're going to just make sure, I'll try our very hardest to get all of this in for you. Who's going to be in next place? Now, this is quite a nice jump here from $277, which is what I was saying. It jumps up to just a $1 short of 400.
Yeah.
So that's a nice big jump there.
Absolutely, and I think they deserve it in a sense as well.
Yeah, and even the next one after that jumps again a further $207 to $208, in fact, to $607. So we're seeing some nice big jumps, aren't we?
Yep.
Which is usually the case, isn't it? In a when it gets down to the money's usually in the last 3, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've got our finalists here. Rydlin goes all in.
No, he doubled up there. He doubled up.
Yeah.
So,
X-Bone still got some.
Yeah, he's got lots of chips next
Yeah.
to X-Bone. He's in. Rydlin's going to need to double up against him a few times. He's not going to do it this hand though. 2-6, and X-Bone knows it. He puts in half the amount. He's basically said, "Do you want to play for your chips with whatever hand you've got there?" And he said, 6-2. No, thank you. He knows that he's not going to fold to the re-raise, so in effect, all he's doing is just calling. And he thinks, "Do I want to call for all my chips with 6-2? I don't think I do." Well, this is where we could see X-Bone take advantage and start raising non-stop. And he's decided to see if Lucille is a hand that he can play against Rydin, and Rydin, in fact, had no hand whatsoever. So we move on. X-Bone is on the big blind.
And here is where we might see Rydlin go all in, actually.
Yeah, he has gone all in. You've predicted it correctly. And, well, he's doubled up again.
Yeah.
Well, he was a favourite. Not a big favourite. It was about a 6-4 favourite, slightly less perhaps, but around 58-60% favourite with the King-Jack. And that wasn't good enough. In fact, against Queen 10 suited, it's probably around 58%, something in that area. Well, Rydin increases. Now he's looking a little more formidable, yeah? He's still in dangerous situation compared to the other 2.
Yeah, but I think it was much better that he got the money from X-Bone rather than Lucille.
I'm not sure.
Decreasing
I think it would have been better to get it off Lucille.
You think so?
Yeah, because by the same token, he's his nearest target, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you could say that if he managed to diminish Lucille, he's got a second place.
Yeah,
but if he's going for the win, obviously he needs to try to bring X-Bone down to his level.
Well, it's a shame there, isn't it? I think he let one go there with the aces. You're not going to get aces 3-handed very often, and I think you've got to, in my opinion, slow play them in some fashion, whether it's a minimum raise, whether it's
or even just a call.
Yeah, you've got to take a chance. This is a chance that could mean the difference between $400 and $954. If he doubled up with those aces because a guy hits top pair and doesn't want to let it go, he's now on 180,000. That makes a big difference.
Absolutely, and especially if you manage to get both players up against him. The possibility is that someone gets a flush and a straight draw as well. Something like that.
Or top pair, whatever, yeah. And he could get, absolutely, get a nice triple up. So I think that's worthy of a chance there. Worthy of a chance there. He could have been in a very strong position. Never mind, it's gone now. He did pick up the blinds. But he still needs to do a lot more than that. Well,
that's a pretty
big raise there. Doubles.
Yeah.
Only decided to double it.
And the King 4 just wasn't big enough.
No, King 4 is not a good hand. And he's back down to normal rubbishy hands now, 2-6.
Again, this is also...
look at that, Lucille. Did you see that? Lucille folded ace-9.
Yeah.
And X-Bone had queens on the big blind. So small blind folded ace-9.
Yeah.
Unusual.
And I think even the queens, I would try to slow play in this situation here.
Yeah.
Especially with the X-Bone. He's already chip leader. He doesn't have to finish it off now. If he can pull the others in and maybe improve his hand or make sure that they don't have they don't get their aces on the flop or something like that, he can make some real money out of it. And if it sort of
Well, look, we've
goes
got it
past
here.
him, yeah.
Ace 10 against pair of queens. He's re-raised him.
All in.
Yeah,
So
it's
this
another
is-
60-odd thousand.
Yeah, this is too tempting for Expo to
Yeah, and look
fold
at that. He's
in.
hit a set of aces, and that's going to be good enough. And Wrighting's unfortunate on that one. He actually had a good hand there, and he went out. Well, we've got so Wrighting collected $399. He fought very, very well indeed for that third place. So well done to Wrighting. Very good game indeed. Getting third place out of 350, just under 350 entrants. Not an easy thing to do. And, well, King 6, he's getting a bit excited with the King 6 there for some reason. And he's put it out, and he's represented the ace, and he can't call him. Well, Expo in a very dominating position here. Lucille really needs to double up, but this is not going to be the hand to do it with. And he folds.
But at the same time, he can't let too many of those small blinds go, or big blinds go away either.
No, he can't.
So-
He's got to, you know, do some raising himself. And he's let another one go. And Expo now takes over to the 400k mark. So he's looking pretty healthy, and look, he's thinking to himself, when am I going to get a hand? And that's not it. But each time he's given the other guy more ammunition and reducing his.
Yeah, I mean, in
his
essence,
armory.
you could say that whatever he gives up pre-flop, he loses out twice that amount when they actually do go all in.
It
So-
goes to the other guy. That's
Yeah.
right. Well, he did make a good fold there though with the 9-6 because Expo had kings. Well, he's had enough of letting them go now. But he's still got a long way to go just to get back to where he was a few minutes ago.
Right,
Well-
this might be the hand, I think. No.
Yeah, Expo doesn't want to
no.
call.
It's probably good. Queen 5, even suited, is not.
Yeah, I think
very
this could
strong.
be it. Yeah, and he's probably going to call with the ace.
Oh,
he does,
really?
and that's all over now.
Yeah.
There's no hand that can help him. Well played to Expo. He played a good aggressive game at the end. Lucille, for my liking, just played a little too tight. He made a couple of good folds though, because he would have walked into big hands, but he played a little too tight. He went a little bit too low, didn't he? And with the ace, and the problem is with the ace 3, he could afford to call him. Whereas if he was a bit stronger, if he had 180,000, he probably wouldn't have called with the ace 3.
Absolutely.
So good game, Expo. He picked up $954, and Lucille picked up $607. So well done. Okay, so we've got a quick message, I believe, to hear. So let's tap it in.
Hi guys, Kenneth Braves here. Thanks for answering the question. Top banana. I'm glad you like that. Yeah, thanks very much. I've been using Poker Tracker for some time now, and just wondered what you thought of some of these stats. Percentage of hands won: aces 88, kings 71, queens 90, jacks 48. 10s, 66, 9s, 14, 8s, no stats, 7s, 6, 6s, 7, 5s, 12, 4s, 24, 3s, 8, and 2s, only 12. Your thoughts, and once again, great show. Top banana.
Well, lovely email, a lovely sound message there. What do you think of those stats, Johan?
Oh, well, you're the expert on...
I know where he's from. I know where that guy's from.
Right.
I think he used to work during World War II, giving out, during the BBC World Service, giving out 60, 74, yeah. My wife is an angel, but my father's a... Anyway, yeah, so there you go. I think he used to work for the, what do you call it? All the secret messages and stuff, didn't they?
Yeah, well, I was in a different part of the world back
Okay,
then, so.
we've got to go now. So thanks very much for joining, Johan, and hope you've enjoyed it. Until tomorrow, look out for some more Poker Night Live.